It's official. We are live on the first Pan-African webinar of 2024. Welcome everyone to this beautiful weekend of a lot of light bulb moments, a lot of sharing, a lot of giving, a lot of learning. Welcome to SECA Africa's Pan-African webinar hosted by members of Octopus Speakers Pool OSP. This weekend promises to be very, very powerful. We have 3 days of powerful sessions packed with fantastic speakers, professionals in their rights, and seasoned, experienced people in different areas of the walk of life. So, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're watching us from and listening, whether you're in West Africa or you're in any part of Africa, or you're joining from Europe or you're joining from America, wherever you're joining us from, we are happily reaching out from here in Nigeria. Some of our speakers are actually not in Nigeria, so it's also good. And I'm so happy to be the lead host this weekend. My name is Sam Obafemi, and I am privileged to be one member of the Octopus Speakers Pool. So let me take a few moments to introduce Octopus Speakers Pool and also to introduce our speakers as will be lined up for the weekend. Octopus Speakers Pool is a community of professional speakers, trainers, and content developers, if you want. In this community, we have people who are consultants, who are specialists, and the focus of Octopus Speakers Pool is to have people who are seasoned in different subject areas that can reach out and help you with areas like trainings or coaching, and even in developing content and distributing content. Octopus Speakers Pool is made up of almost 180 members. And guess the good news? The good news is that you cannot join us this year anymore. Hey, how does that sound? Yes. We are not open to new members until maybe next year, But this year, we promise you month by month, full package. We promise to bring you top speakers who will inspire you, who will charge you up, and who will give you sense of direction. At Octopus Speakers Pool, we have fantastic people who have answers to many questions you probably had that you needed help with. And so from tonight being that I am beaming from Federal Capital Territory in Abuja, because I'm aware we have participants in the United States who are here. So for them, that will be this afternoon. I'm aware we have participants from Canada, and for them, that may be like an early morning or thereabout. So joining us at this moment, I want to encourage you to please pay close attention and make sure you take as much notes as possible. This session is being live streamed on YouTube, and I'm posting the comment in the comment section so that participants can also share this link with everyone who wants to join. Peradventure, at some point, the Zoom link is full, then your friends and loved ones can join us via YouTube. Fantastic. So just by way of meeting you, if you are not an OSP member, emphasis, you are not an OSP member, let us meet you. We'd like to meet you. Just tell us your name. You can use the chat room, of course, and tell us where you're streaming in from. What part of the globe are you joining from, and what's your name? Let's meet you. Non-OSP members, because the majority of the people on the call for now are OSP members. So let's meet you. Okay, so I have Sarah Alabe from Abuja, West Africa. Good evening, Sarah. Fantastic. Good to have you. Who else is joining us who is not an OSP member? And I can't say yet because we don't know when we'll reopen for you guys to join us. Who else is not an OSP member but is joining us tonight? Let's meet you. Dante Frank from Lagos, Nigeria. Good to meet you, Dante. Welcome to our Pan-African Webinar 2024. Yes, let's keep it going. Who else is on this call? You're not an OSP member, and we would like to meet you. Benga Majekodumi is from Lagos, joining from Lagos. Good to have you here, sir. Thank you for joining this call. Great. Who else? I need to also be checking on YouTube so that I can be keeping us posted who is joining from YouTube. So let's keep it coming. Okay, so far, these are the non-members. I still have some that I can see your faces, but I haven't seen your introductions, but that's fine. So I'm going to jump right into why are we hosting these Pan-African webinars? What exactly is the goal of the Pan-African webinar? Oh, I have Gloria Odewumi Oyindamola from Lokoja. Oh, wow, that's so good. From Lokoja, good to have you here on this call. Thank you for joining. Fantastic. So why are we hosting the Pan-African webinars? Why does this exist? One of the pivotal reasons why the Pan-African webinar is holding is because we have in our community very strong professionals and voices who have answers to societal ills, vices, and challenges. And so we figured we could bring these professionals to you to help answer knotty questions that you've got and challenges that you have in any area of your life. In OSP, we have people who come from, I won't say all walks of life, but the variety is very wide. And so like this weekend, for example, you're going to be encountering 13 speakers just this weekend. From February, you're going to probably be encountering 15 speakers and maybe 20 speakers, etc. So you can just imagine that by the end of this year, you would have encountered about 174 different speakers with different topics, talking about different areas that you need help. That is why the Pan-African webinar is holding. And guess what? It's absolutely free of charge. Absolutely free of charge. The sweeter part is this session is live on YouTube, which means you can always revisit the sessions and re-inspire yourself and recharge, because this 2024, we no go grieve for anybody. And so you have to not grieve for that issue that is tugging at you. That is why we're brought to you the Pan-African webinar. And I'm so proud and delighted about the kind of speakers that were brought to your table, because these guys are the bomb. So right on the go, I'm going to have our first speaker for the night take on the rostrum as he speaks to you all. Don't forget, this session is being live streamed on YouTube. And if at any point you find yourself unable to join on Zoom, please don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. No, we're not recording. It's live on YouTube, so we're not recording. I can see Aisha from Abuja. I won't introduce Ada. You're an OSP member. Introductions are strictly for non-OSP members. So tonight we have a distinguished Toastmaster, a veterinary doctor, a man that has graced big stages, especially continental and international. He's an author. He's a very gentle man. He's an authority, and he's quite an inspiring speaker. He's a distinguished Toastmaster, and he's Dr. Benjamin Wayo. Guys, make welcome with me Dr. Benjamin Wayo as he takes the floor and speaks to us. Welcome, boss. Over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. I hope I am audible and clearly heard by everyone.
Yes, you are.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'll start off by telling a very short and simple story. Growing up, I had a challenge, very simple challenge. I thought that there was something wrong with me. I thought I didn't look good enough. So it happened right straight from home that they used to make fun of my head and even my complexion. From my complexion, they used to call me something like Bakin Tukunya. If you speak Hausa, Bakin Tukunya means black pot.
Black pot.
Yes. And also my head. It seems like my head was a shade bigger than everybody else's head. And even my own siblings were making fun of me growing up. And so I felt that there was something wrong with me. But I had something interesting going on at the same time. It was my mother. Yeah. So my mother had this attitude of always, anytime we're preparing for school, she would look at me, she would make me straighten my shirt, and she would look me in the eye and say, fine boy, give me 5. And from then on, and going further, I had this attitude. If my mother thinks I'm a fine boy, then I don't care what anybody says. I'm a fine boy, whether anybody likes it or not. So I'd like to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, do I have your attention? All right, so my talk is very... My talk, if I have your attention, please type it in the chat box. If I have your attention, I'm going to start sharing my screen. My talk is very simple and very straightforward today. And I'd like you to pay as much attention as possible. This can, in any way possible, change your life. I believe that very strongly. All right, if you can see my screen, you can type it down in the chat box. If you can see my screen, you can type it in the chat box. What do you see on my screen? Yeah, talk is cheap, attention is not. And I started this talk very, very deliberately with the story that I told, with the intention of getting your attention. If you are a speaker, you should always have the intention of getting the attention of your audience. You should always have the intention, a clear and deliberate intention of getting the attention of your audience. So we're saying that in this time and age that we're in, it is so important for a speaker, whenever it is that you're talking, whatever kind of talk you're giving, whatever kind of talk you're delivering, it could be at a wedding, it could be as a presentation in your office, it could be a pitch that you're making. You should have the capacity to be able to look up and notice that your audience is paying attention. So I asked from my story whether you got my attention. And I think whether I got your attention. And I think to a great extent, unless you've heard the story before and you found it boring, most likely I've gotten your attention. And this is one of the many tools and things that we use. But I'm going to talk a little bit about making sure that you can have the attention of your audience anytime that you're speaking. Now, the argument is very simple. A lot of people say that talk is cheap. They say talk is cheap, talk is cheap, talk is cheap. It's easier to say something than to do it. And in a sense, they have an argument. But then when you think about it, if talk is so cheap, how come public speaking is listed as one of the most feared things by almost everybody on earth? If you want to list the top 5 things that people are afraid of, public speaking is one of them. A lot of people would rather die than speak in public. So public speaking skills, being able to stand in, being able to talk, that talk that you're saying is cheap. Is it truly cheap? In a sense, if you still want to argue, you could say it's cheap, but it is not cheap when you consider the attention you can get. And that's my argument. It's about attention. It's really not just about what somebody is saying. It's really about the attention that you're able to garner whenever it is that you're speaking. Now, in the world that we live in today, this is a statement that was made by by Nobel Prize winning economics. He said, a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. We're in an age and time where there is a flood of information. The amount of data, videos, ideas that are being spread across every day today are so much higher than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago. If you go further down, we are dealing with so much information. But with that comes the poverty of attention. People are reducing in their ability to give attention to anything. Now, attention is powerful. In fact, attention is the new currency. That's true, because a lot of organizations, a lot of companies are paying huge amounts of money in order to have the attention of their audiences. Social media, Facebook, Google, Instagram. Just name all the social medias and all TikTok, name them. Everyone is trying one thing or the other to get your attention. Why? Because your attention is now money. We have realized that attention is a platform to be able to get influence, impact, and income. So attention is money. Where people pay attention, they pay money. Now, this is the fact of life today. That's one of the reasons why you find yourself powerless against your devices, against your phones, against your tablets, and so on and so forth, because of the attention that people are crafting. People are trying to craft and get your attention no matter what. This is very important. Now, the point I'm trying to make is very simple. In a world where attention is so difficult to get, it becomes even harder for a speaker to get people's attention. It becomes even harder for a speaker to get people's attention. In fact, there's a principle we use in public speaking. We tell people that if you do not get people's attention in the first 8 to 10 seconds, you are most likely going to lose them much further going down, especially if you don't have much time. So getting the attention, that is where the value is. Getting attention is where the value is. And people are doing it in social media. They are doing it in videos. They are doing it in all kinds of content. What are you doing to make sure that anytime you talk, you open your mouth in front of a video, you open your mouth in front of your boss, you open your mouth in front of your colleagues, you are able to garner the attention that will give value? And the problem is just this: human attention span is reducing because of the amount of information. There is a poverty of attention, and the attention span of people are reducing every single day. In 2000, as early as 2000, this is just about 23, 24 years ago, the attention span, the average attention span of every human being was about 12 seconds. Okay? People had their average attention span of 12 seconds. Going further to just as early as 2015, it went down to 8.25 seconds. Of course, earlier than that, before the 2000s, average attention span was higher. Some of you have greater attention spans. You can have attention spans up to an hour, fine. But the average attention span kept reducing to the extent that last year, or rather 2 years ago, 2022, it was down to 7 seconds. Now, guess what the average attention span of a goldfish is? A goldfish, a fish inside the little bottle, if you like. It's about 8 to 9 seconds. So the average attention span of a goldfish is higher than the average attention span of the average human being today. And that's a thing of concern. Now, why is it a thing of concern? Because if you are a speaker, there is a high chance that people are not going to listen to what you're saying because they can easily shift to something and someone else. And you have to be that person that is able to get the attention of your audience, no matter what they are doing. It's not always going to favor you, but most of the time it will. In fact, you'll have a high grade of being able to do so well in getting the attention of your audience. And it is so important because attention spans are reducing. So what are you going to do? Are you going to sit down there and say it's impossible? Or are you going to do something? I say this to a lot of people, that you can run away from public speaking, but you cannot hide. Sometimes you try to get motivation to do something, but one day, motivation is the one that is going to follow you. We coach people a lot, and sometimes when I'm coaching some people, I find out that there are people that are going to the end of their years and they've started consulting, or they want to start consulting. Maybe they've worked in one company or the other, and they realize that this consulting involves talking to people, and they can't talk to people. So if you run, you can't hide, and one day motivation will follow you. May you know how to find the motivation before the motivation follows you. This is one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing here today, so that you can be able to master your talk to gain the attention that is necessary. So I'm starting this so that I'm going to get you to have an idea. The idea is this: a good talk is like calling a person's name. A good talk is like calling a person's name. When you call a person's name, what do? They always turn and answer. In fact, when people hear their name, it registers so powerfully in their brains that it's such a strong, potent emotional reaction. It's a self-recognition thing. It's like when you look into a picture and there's a group picture, what's the first person that you look for? You look for yourself. It's that powerful when you call somebody's name. So when you're calling the names of people, you have a way of getting their attention. And a good talk is almost like calling somebody's name so that they can actually hear you and look and turn no matter what they're hearing. And that's the goal. Because if people can listen to you, that is where value is created. Value is created not at the point of talking, it is created at the point of listening. When people actually can listen, that's where value is created. So you have so many fantastic things to say. You can share so many things. You have this important thing that can change people's lives. You have so much information, but because you're so poor at telling it, nobody's listening, and therefore there's no value. So talk may be cheap, but attention is not. And because value is created at the point of attention. So what are you going to do about it? This is what we're talking about. Talk is cheap. Attention is expensive. Attention is not. And there's a price to pay for it. So if you want to be that person that can always get the attention of your audience, there are certain things that you need to know. Now, I listed these things. It's really about your listeners, okay? The point is to bring it out that it is about your listeners. It's not about anybody else, but your listeners. Only your listeners. So the question you have to ask yourself is, who are your listeners? Who are those listeners? Who are they? And then a list of questions there. I can't go through all of them, but I'm going to try to touch on a few, and before the time runs out. Who are they? What do they want to hear? How do they want to hear what it is that you want to speak about? How do they want to hear what you have to talk about? When do they want to hear it? Where do they want to hear it? And who do they want to hear it from? So who are your listeners? Who are they? What do they want to hear? How do they want to hear it? What do they want to hear? When do they want to hear it? And of course, where do they want to hear it? And finally, who do they want to hear it from? If you make your talk all about your listeners and think about the who, the what, the when, the where, the how, you will be able to attract the attention that you're looking for. But before I go into those different issues, I want to start with the first few things that I think every person that is giving a talk, a presentation, a speech, a toast, etc., etc. This is some of the things that you should know, particularly when you're doing some serious stuff like business presentations, like pitches, and so on and so forth. When you're trying to sell a vision to your organization and so on. First things first, know your stuff. It's so important that you have to be competent. To be able to attract attention, you must be competent. Competent is an ability to be able to attract attention on its own. Competence sells itself. If you're not a very good speaker, if you stutter, if you have a way of not being able to handle information, all right. Everything is not about sounding right. Everything is not about being able to, people will always want to listen, so to speak, being impressive as far as speaking. Sometimes things about competence. There are audiences that you stand in front of. If you look incompetent, you are going to sell yourself less. It doesn't matter how eloquent you are. Eventually, those people will not want to listen to you. So, competence. Be competent. Study whatever it is that you're studying. Make sure that you know exactly what you're talking about and come out as competent. No matter what you do, your competence has a way of shining through even in a bad speech. So, number one, first and foremost, please work on your competence. The second thing is that you should sell yourself. In other words, there's a way you look, there's a way you talk. Packaging is important. People say that packaging is not important, but I remember I was reading a post by somebody I respect, and he was trying to sell a product. I think it was Gary, sugar, and groundnuts, packaged, something like that. I can't remember, either something like that. And people in the comment section, Facebook, people in the comment section were saying all kinds of stuff. They were saying, the product is more expensive than the packaging. And they were like, this is a failure right from the get-go, and so on and so forth. Nobody will buy it. And I was actually siding with their argument a little bit until I read somebody's comment, and the person said that even water that you drink The packaging of water is far more expensive than the water itself. Have you noticed that? That the bottle costs more than the water. And you can name it more and more because packaging is more important. Perception is more important than reality because perception is actually reality. So you must package yourself. So here you are, you're competent, fantastic, but package yourself, sell yourself, look competent, look like somebody that should be talking the way you're talking. Look the part, dress the part, look serious. Sell yourself. Do everything you can to sell yourself. Do everything you can to make sure that you sell yourself. All right. Now, the last thing is to focus on your message. Focus on your message. Don't focus on your mess. These three things I think are very important. You know your stuff, you sell yourself, and then you focus on your message. What do I mean by focusing on message? Focus on what it is that you have to say, not how you feel. A lot of times when people come to talk to front of people, they are preoccupied by how they feel. They're preoccupied with their fear, with their inconsistency. I say this a lot. Your message is more important than your mess. Your message is more important than your mess. Your message is more important than your insecurities. Your message is more important than your mistakes. So focus on your message. If you have a message to give, it is what you should do. It liberates you. It's what you should just pass across. Forget about everything else and focus on your message. So let's go ahead and find out the things that you can do to be able to get the attention of your audience. What are killer things you can do? Who are your audience? Who are they? Who are they? First and foremost, what are their names? First, what's the name of the organization? What does the organization stand for? What's the name of this person? What does this person stand for? What do they look like? What do they believe in? If you know people's names and you call their names, they are going to love it. People love the sound of their names. So if you're talking to a crowd and you're able to know the names of the people that you're speaking to, that helps. But even if you don't know who their names are, the question is, what is their unique identity? When I say you don't know their names, I mean you don't know their individual names, but you should know their organization. You should be able to research the website. You should be able to know everything you can about the people you're talking to. But what is their unique identity? Because a name is actually a unique identity of an individual. So what's the unique identity of these people? What's the unique identity of this organization, of this group? What are those things? When you do those things, when you understand those things, you now begin to associate your talk with whatever it is that they are talking about. Did you get what I was saying? You associate your talk with their identity. Now, if you've heard about Pavlov dogs, I don't know if you've heard about the experiment of I.P. Pavlov. Pavlov was an animal animal physiologist, animal and human physiologist many, many years back. And he studied dogs, or rather he was doing some studies on the human physiology and animal physiology. And of course, he tested this thing on his dogs, and he found out that whenever it is he wanted to feed them, they would begin to salivate whenever it is he was going to feed them. But he also noticed that when he was going to feed them, if he rings a bell, they start salivating even before they see or smell the food. So he began to withdraw the food and just ring the bell. And even in just ringing the bell, they were salivating. Why? Because they had associated the bell with food. When you associate something with what people want, you get attention. You get a response. Not just any kind of response. Sometimes a deep physiological and physical reaction. And that is what you can do as a speaker. You can associate. This is one of the reasons why comedians are such great communicators. If you notice, when a comedian talks, they don't just talk about anything. They talk about something you may have experienced before. Things you can relate to. Things you can associate with yourself. Yes, MT Adenoro said classical conditioning. Yes, you can actually condition. It's about taking advantage of the things that people are wanting and needing to hear. So you listen to that, you associate yourself with it. So what's the identity? And then how can you associate with it? When you can do those things and associate, you become the feel-good plug. You become that person that when you say something, they just feel good because you are saying something that is associated with who they are and what they want. Be the feel-good plug of your audience, that when they see you, they can actually feel whatever it is that they want and are trying to achieve. It's possible. So what's the next thing? because I'm running out of time already. What do they want to hear? What do they want to hear? Your audience wants to hear anything that can make them avoid pain and pursue pleasure. This is the fact of life. Your audience wants to hear the things that will make them avoid pain or pursue pleasure. People avoid pain and pursue pleasure. They say that a man's headache is more important to him than an earthquake in China. Yes, people avoid pain and pursue pleasure. And you are simply not being realistic when you don't understand that concept and use it to your advantage. Understand that people will consistently avoid pain and pursue pleasure. In fact, somebody once said that people, if you want to be rich, give people what they need. But if you want to be very, very rich, give them what they want. People sacrifice more money on the altar of wants than they do on the altar of needs. This is a fact of life. It's unfortunate, but it is true. That's what people do. They avoid pain and they pursue pleasure. So if you want to be able to get their attention, you must be able to sell the avoidance of pain and the pursuit of pleasure. You must be able to show that this thing will reduce their pain and increase their pleasure. And I don't mean anything like useless pleasure or something that will kill them. No, I mean something as simple as something that will make you feel pleasant. That when you're able to give your daughter this gift, your daughter will be very happy. That's pleasurable. And that's something to look forward to. It's a basic human want and human behavior. I am really, really out of time. So I'm going to run this down very quickly and try to finish up. There are other basic things that you do whenever you're trying to speak, and it's very, very important. And those basics have to do with being audible, having the right body language, and so on and so forth. But I can't speak about them today. I'm going to try to refer you as much as I can to things that you can use. Now, I have a taster session. I have a class, a session coming up very, very soon. That's about next weekend. And it's a taster session for a bigger one coming up later. And that session is free of charge, okay? I'm going to try to post the links, and you can follow me. If you follow me on social media, you can find out. Google my name. It's not hard to find Benjamin Wayo. There are very few Benjamin Wayos on earth. I think there are only 3 of us. 2 of them are politicians, and I'm the only one that is not a politician, but I'm talking. So I think we have some.
You're not a politician yet.
So I have a class coming up, Confidence and Class, a free taster session. Is next weekend. You can register for it, and you'll find out a lot more about what we're talking about. But I say that these are basics, but there are also things that are far more advanced than that. Things like the emotional intelligence a speaker should have, emotionally managing yourself, the kind of characteristics or the traits that a speaker has, and of course, being a likable speaker. I think you can learn much more about these things as we interact. I'm going to post my coaching link, a site you can go to find out things I do, Coach Lee, and also some of my products are on Seller. You can go and check them out. I'll post all the links in the chat box so that you can have access to them. These are 2 of the books I've written. Attention is cheap. Talk is cheap, but attention is expensive, and moving and memorable. Talk is cheap, talks more. It finishes what I've started here. And then attention, moving and memorable gives you some hands-on tools of what to do to be able to be a very, very great speaker, to move and also make yourself memorable, to touch the heart and also to touch the mind. So I have these 2 things. You can check them out. And they are very small books, very small books. You can finish them in an hour or 2 if you're very slow. So it's very easy and very easy to follow. So I also would love you to follow me. Anytime I come out with some very great talks and write-ups every week. I call it Born on a Monday because I happen to be born on a Monday, even though my name is not Monday. And there I try to show some powerful work ethics I've learned over the years. So I will end with this on this note. If you can see this picture, you're going to see a man stretching forth to save a father and leaving a child, his own child, and his wife behind. I've forgotten the title of this particular picture, but it's an antique picture and it's very, very powerful. Now, anytime I see this, I say, oh, what a stupid man. I would definitely save my child and save my wife. But you see, there is a little bit of that stupidity in each and every one of us. There is that little bit of stupidity in each and every one of us, where we're looking to our past and not to our future. One of my mentors always says this. He says, your future is far bigger than your past. So there's a way we hold on and cling to our past. We have heard that we're not great speakers. We have heard that we're not good looking. We have heard that we can't do something, and we hold on to those ideas and those concepts further than the future, or rather the present and the future. The wife represents the present, the child represents the future. And we go to our father, our past. Don't hold on to your past. You can do better as a speaker. I say this a lot. Anyone can speak. Talk may be cheap, but attention is expensive, and you can be cashing out in only a matter of time. Thank you very much for your time and for your attention. So I'd like to just give a few minutes to anybody that has questions. I don't know if I still have time for questions, but I took all the time. Okay, awesome. All right, so thank you so much again. Thank you for your time and thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I think you can just type them in the chat.
Sorry, yeah. Please, you can go on. We had some interruptions there.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So we have a question from Oluwatosin Adeyeye. Adeyeye. Forgive me if I didn't pronounce that right.
No problem.
Please go on.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Benjamin Wayo, for your presentation. Really appreciate it. I just wanted to ask, you talked about competence, and you talked about how that's very important. And it seems as though from your presentation, that seemed to be the most important thing to do. And you talked about how that you have to look competent. So I just want you to probably digging into that. Because sometimes you might look competent and not actually be competent. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay. I would like to correct.
I don't know.
Pardon me for confidence. Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, I lost you for a bit. I just wanted to say that sometimes you might look competent and not be competent. But my own point is, how can you be competent? You are competent, you have that competence, but how can you look that competence? I don't know if that makes sense. Because you talked about the appearance too and the perception. But there's a certain look that you have to sell to your people. Of course, you talked about the audience and all that. But is there a way that you can look competent that cuts across board, irrespective of the audience that you have? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It does. So first and foremost, the first thing about competence, like you said, somebody can actually look competent and not be competent. And that is the tragedy of life. In fact, a lot of people that are making progress in the world today are those that look it but are not it. People that are able to package themselves properly. So this is where the key comes. There are two things you need to do if you want to look competent. If you are competent and you want to look competent, there are two powerful things you need to do. First and foremost, you need to become more competent. Focus on the competence itself. Forget about looking at like it. First of all, the first things you do, be more competent. Be true to yourself. I say these things, that there are two things every great speaker has. It doesn't matter whether they are politicians, whether they are religious leaders, whether they are great business people. If they are great speakers, they have two things. They have I and S. I-S. I say it. I is, you is, they is, we is. I-S stands for integrity and skill. They have integrity, they have skill. They have the skill of being able to speak well, but more than that, they have the integrity. Integrity. In other words, they know what they know and they know it well. They have the right experience. They have the right background. They have the right qualifications. So focus first of all on really being competent. I don't believe in selling yourself even though you are a liar. I don't believe that even though you are a fake person, you should just continue selling yourself as a fake person. I believe in putting your best foot forward. It's a part of life. Yes, we put our best foot forward. But I believe in standing for what is right. So be somebody of integrity, be somebody that has experience, that has knowledge, and continue to increase in it. So increase your competence, no matter what happens, no matter what you face, no matter what you go through. People notice you, they don't notice you. They listen to you, they don't listen to you. Fine. increase your competence. Increase your competence. That's the first thing. The second thing becomes easier when you have the competence. That's packaging. The same packaging other people are doing. In fact, you may not need to go as far as packaging the way they package, because your product will sell itself. I mean, there are certain products in the market today, like Alabukun, they don't have the most fantastic packaging, but the integrity of the product is selling itself year after year. So you can package. Now, if Alabukun was not packaged well, I remember Dudu Osun. When Dudu Osun came out, first of all, it wasn't looking so good, but they have worked on their packaging and it looks so fantastic. So work on your packaging. I said this and I repeat it over and over again. You must believe in your packaging. It's important. It's a part of life. You can't run away from it. The cost of products increase because of packaging, and people will not buy it if the packaging is not good. So people will not buy you if you don't package well. So first of all, increase in your competence. Focus on that. Believe in that. Don't stop that, no matter what happens. But then package. How do you package? Package the way you look. How does a professional like you, how are you supposed to look? Look that way. Dress properly. Make sure that you smell good. Make sure that your breath is good. Make sure that you look good. How do you speak as somebody of your profession? Somebody that is high up there in your profession, how do they speak? Make sure that you're speaking the way you're supposed to speak. Okay? Then build. This is what we're talking about. Why I'm telling you about attention is that when you are a speaker, you need to know how to use and manipulate words so that you can use and sell your competence. So here you are, you know this thing so well, but somebody that knows how to talk is chancing you in the office. Over and over again, they are getting promotions over you because you don't want to talk. Talking is part of packaging. Because it was Les Brown that said this: anytime you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. And people of the world are not always so good at knowing who you really are. Human beings are not experts in people's character per time. So if you talk in a particular way, they will perceive you as competent. They will perceive you as competent. If you wanted to ask directions from somebody today, for instance, and you are on the street and you ask, please, where's the way to Berger? You know, I'm trying to get the way to Berger in Abuja. What's the way? And the person say, Berger, I think if you go this way and go that way, I think you'll get there. Now, this person may have given you the right direction, but because they don't look confident, because they are not talking very well, you're not likely going to follow them. But if somebody that does not even know the way say, Berger, oh, that's very easy. Just go this way and go that way. He can send you to Zaria, but you will most likely follow his direction because he looks confident. And so you should be in my class, confidence and class.
Yes. All other questions should be answered in your class next Friday, guys. Wow, that last question was so on point.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, that is vintage Dr. Benjamin Wayo. He's someone you always want to listen to. Always you want to listen to him. He's very articulate, very intelligent, and he just has a way with words. So it's not a surprise. He's the DTM, which of course, for those of you that know the hierarchy in Toastmasters, that's the highest ranking portfolio or
Sorry,
office.
sir, I'm not a DTM yet.
Oh,
I'm not yet a DTM.
I always call you DTM. Well, it's not my fault.
Not yet,
Honestly,
sir. Very soon.
that's so good. Fantastic. It's all right. Yes. We're getting there.
All right.
So, guys, this is Dr. Benjamin Wayo. Please subscribe to his session. He's going to post all the links in the chat room shortly so that you guys can register for his session. Somebody's asking for your IG. So, Dr. Ben, please post your contact details as you want us to have it and let them follow you. Guys, don't forget this session is streaming live on YouTube. And you do well to follow and share the link with your loved ones because they should be part of these sessions as we are having it. So guys, I'm going to switch over to our next speaker in a minute, but we're going to do a quick activity, something very, very straightforward. I would like us to test something. So I'm going to do this with just some random 10 people, and this is how the activity will run. I will start a statement, then I'll call your name. When I call your name, you're supposed to continue the statement without going off point. without going off track. They should naturally continue in a smooth way. So we're going to test it just for you to understand what I am trying to say. If you heard me, I want you to type 1 in the chat room. Let me be sure we're on the same page. If you heard me, type 1 in the chat room. Fantastic. Awesome. Good. So we're going to do something very quick. I'm going to say a statement, something very short. I will call your name. Then you will, please, no raising of hands right now. Thank you. So I'll call your name. You would say a statement that is a continuation from where I have stopped without sounding off. So let me test that. Let me do that with DK. DK, can I try with you?
Always ready.
Correct. So let me say, so I'm going to say something like, today is a beautiful Friday. Then I'll say DK. Then you continue with a statement.
Fridays are always special.
Fridays are always special. Then you will call another person randomly on the call. So call somebody randomly. Let's test that.
Jumai.
Jumai. Okay.
Yeah, that's very true. Fridays are always special because that's why we have Thank God It's Friday.
Nice one. Nice one. So now we get the drift. Now we get the drift. So we're going to do that in very quick successions, just 10 people. If you go off point, then the person that will call next will have to continue from the previous person because we don't want to go off point. So when I said today's a Good Friday, somebody will not now say, well, I'm happy to be here. Well, okay, that's even fine. But don't just take us off point. So let's start. And I will still call DK. So DK, I'm giving you a heads up anyway. So let's roll. I will go back to say, today is a beautiful Friday. DK. You're mute.
Fridays are my favorite day of the week.
Fantastic. Call the next person.
Benjamin, let's hear from you. Okay. Nancy.
Nancy.
And the week happens to be the third of the new year.
Okay. No, that's off. That's taking us off.
She ended with week, and I said with week.
So she started with the word I ended with.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. So Nancy, call someone else to continue from where you stopped.
Okay. I'm not seeing their names now. Who? TechnoSpark. Who is TechnoSpark here?
I wish people would name their devices properly. That would have helped. So TechnoSpark, can you help us continue?
Dr. Ben. Okay, Gloria. Look. Yeah,
where are all these human beings?
Okay, Wordsmith, the Wordsmith.
The Wordsmith. Okay.
And if you haven't gotten enough done by this third week of the year, you can always keep trying.
Nice one. Nice one. Please call the Wordsmith now. Call someone else to continue. Okay, it's all right. We can stop at this point, but I'm sure you get the drift. For all of us. Ikalon. Okay, Dr. Ikalon, you'll be our last.
Trying something else is always refreshing.
Fantastic. I like that. I like that. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. It's been a beautiful exercise. So I want you all, because this is an event hosted by OSP members. OSP is a platform where people groom themselves for professional talk, professional training, coaching, having to engage people in public, in forum or fora, training opportunities, and any opportunity like that. If you're a trainer, this is an activity you can actually do in class, with participants. We call it storytelling. And you can have people, you can just make a statement, depending on the seating arrangement. If it's a physical class, you can go person by person, and then you can have that. It can also be like a group activity, and then the group that keeps the flow wins the game, and the group that breaks the flow falls out, and then you win a prize. These are just some very creative stuff we do in training that can go a long way. So right about now, I'm going to invite our next speaker, someone very dear to my heart, a genius, support system, very pragmatic with solutions, especially when it has to do with getting work done. I call her, she comes across to me, and I always like to call her the efficiency boss. She's very particular about efficiency and productivity, but she does it in smart ways. DK is very good with smart tools. She always has one app or one solution that can do something differently and smarter. Yeah. She comes and says, have you tried this? Have you tried this one? Have you tried this one? I'm like, how does this lady do this thing? I beg. So guys, I'm happy to bring to you right now our next speaker on the OSP Pan-African webinar. We call her DK. She's DK Jonah. Hi, DK. Over to you.
Hello, Coach. The efficiency boss. I'm so stealing that. Even what Gloria is clapping. Gloria, we are stealing that. The efficiency boss. So hi, everyone. My name is DK. I'm the efficiency boss, as I've been told. And today I would love to talk to you about something I've called reclaiming your time. Fantastic. I know everyone says this. I don't have time. I don't have time. How many of you have said this word? I don't have time. I am busy. Let me know in the comments. I don't have time, or I am busy. And when you look back and you reflect, you're like, where did this time go? I said I was going to do X, Y, Z, and I didn't end up doing it. Because there's a difference between our intentions and our actions. So this is something we are all so familiar with. However, what qualifies me to talk about this, and what am I going to be talking about today? So I'm going to talk to you about reclaiming your time, what I call time mastery and self-mastery, a framework I would like to introduce you to that would help you deal with time constraints. I would also talk about the cost of inaction and how to manage your energy. So who am I? I'm also the founder of Amplify the Gospel and the Steadfast Creative. However, I am someone who has learned to manage time based on limited resources. I'm going to take a page from Dr. Benjamin's book and tell you a little bit story about myself. So growing up, I was never the child that was always able to manage and stay organized sometimes. But when I could, I realized I did work better. So I'm the one that my GPA was I won't say what it was, but it wasn't the best. And I went from having a very low GPA to a 4 point because I learned something fantastic, that the way I manage time is different from the way others manage time. So I started learning how to manage time myself. But that's not all that qualifies me. I went from writing people's dissertations for them to being unable to write, comprehend new information, read and assimilate the information I was reading. So I had limited capacity to get anything done. So struggling with a chronic illness for over 20 years, how have I been able to author 2 books, host podcasts, teach people, and meet with a team daily? I meet with my team twice a day, and I will explain why. How have I been able to do Amplify the Gospel, the Steadfast Creative, and all these things, struggling with chronic fatigue, autonomic nervous system issues, and so many other limiting disabilities? And it's because I've understood something. I have learned how to reclaim time, understood how to not just manage time, but how not to mismanage time. Most people know about time management, but why is it that we know about time management and we know about certain things, but yet we do nothing about it? So I have your attention for the next 40 minutes, and this is what I want you to understand. There are things that are outside your control. My slides, if I am boring, if you find the topic interesting, if my pace is wonderful, or if I'm too fast. However, there are certain things you can control. And what are those things that you can control that I don't have control of? Your attention. And Doc told us about attention. Now you're paying attention to get information, the efforts you put into the conversation and the quizzes, because trust me, I always have quizzes for you to shake your mind. Your notes, your attitudes, and your reaction. When I talk about something, and if you feel that this is speaking to you, this is not a time for you to be in denial. Rather, this is the time for you to understand that you need to bridge the gap between intentions and actions. Your intention, you say, oh, this is what I want to do. And then, do you actually do what you want to do? Because if we're not aware, there are people that just don't do anything. However, if you stay till the end and write the code word decoder, I will share a quiz with you that would enable you understand your procrastination style, because everyone procrastinates one way or the other. There's a healthy way to procrastinate, but it starts with understanding your procrastination style. So are we in agreement that once it's time for me to, when I say drum roll, you write the word decoder so I know you're still listening? If we're in agreement, then we'll get started. Welcome to January 2024. I know most of us have had resolutions. We had resolutions 1st of January. We had a long list of all the things we wanted to do. But you're not alone if you're failed in your resolution. That's the good news. The good news that you should tell yourself right now is this: you're not alone. 80% of New Year resolutions fail by the 17th of January. In fact, that day is called the Quitters Day, because everybody just says, you know what, I know they do it again. I'm quitting. But when our resolutions fail, and I'll talk about myself, when I wanted to write my dissertation and I could not, I blamed every other person. I blamed, oh, my laptop is too slow. If my pen was better, I'll be able to write better. I wish my handwriting was better, because my handwriting isn't cute. I get told that all the time. I wish my handwriting was better. If my handwriting was better, then I would score better grades. But we fail to look at one person. And who is that person? That's you. So this year, our slogan is no grief. But we say no grief for anybody. And I'm sure most of you know this slogan already. We've already said it today. No grief for anybody, no grief for anything, no grief for anything. But what am I telling you not to grieve for? No grief for yourself. Because sometimes the person standing between you and success is looking at you in the mirror when you look at the mirror. So it's not just about no grief for anybody. Type no grief for yourself. I will not grieve for myself. I will not stand in the way of my growth. I would not stand in the way of my personal development. I will no longer outsource my personal development to each other. And these are resolutions that I have set for myself. For me, this is how I see resolutions. I know many people have a negative attitude towards resolutions. I think resolutions are decisions. So to me, what decisions are you making for yourself? So we're not talking about resolutions today. We're going to do that. I'm going to do that in another time, and I will invite you. However, I want you to make one now. Make a decision about yourself that this year, I no go grieve for myself when it comes to time. I no go grieve for myself when it comes to procrastination. I no go grieve for myself when it comes to laziness. What are the things that you will not grieve for? Because it's not enough to blame the government and every other person for what's not working. Sometimes the person standing between you and your growth is actually you. And people talk a lot about certain things. Everybody should have a word or a phrase for the year. My word for the year is self-mastery. Why do I choose self-mastery? Now, I don't know about you, but I learned a good secret that I would like to share with you. And a wise man once told me that you need to know yourself better than any other person. My mother always says, know yourself is not a course. And I know she's one of the smartest women on earth. So how well do you know yourself? How well do you understand yourself? Remember what I said earlier? No lying. You must have integrity, like Dr. Ben has said. You must understand yourself so well that you'll be able to make informed decisions and take actions that suit you best. So self-mastery is my own word. Every year I take a word and I walk with that word. So it has been intentional, it has been balanced, it's been different things. But for this year, it's self-mastery. And I wanted to share that with you, because I need you to hold on to something for yourself. What do you want to achieve this year? When you're setting goals and doing all these things for yourself, sometimes we focus so much on our professional life that we neglect our family. But for me, self-mastery is about balancing all these things together. But what do I want you to master self for? I want you to know, and let's take a few seconds. Like I said, I always give a task. The question is, in what ways do you think you might be getting in your own way? In what ways? Now, I'll explain the ways that I'm getting in my own way, and I want you to think about it. So the one way I was getting in my way was my failure to delegate in the past. I had to be involved in every single aspect of everything that was going on the team. It's not like I did not trust them, but I felt that because my mind is very fast, I have ADHD, my mind is very fast, I felt that no one could keep up with my mind. So one way I was getting in my way is by refusing to delegate. So I hope you have your pen and papers and you're making notes. So in what ways are you getting in your own way? Is it because you're scrolling on Twitter? Is it because you are procrastinating? Is it because you refuse, you intentionally refuse, and you said, this is who I am, this is how I am, I cannot change? Oh, that's how I speak to people. Do you find yourself losing clients because of your attitude, because you are missing deadlines, because you are missing opportunities? Clients have given you firm instructions of what needs to be done, and you do the total opposite. You're mixing up files. In what way are you getting in your way of growth? That's a very important thing to answer. Because if you don't answer that question, you cannot move forward. You keep blaming everybody but yourself. So like we said, we're not going to grieve for ourselves. So today we're not going to be talking about how your team isn't working, how my team frustrates me sometimes. No, we're not going to talk about how the systems are not working. We're looking within. So everybody take a deep breath. You're not taking a deep breath. I can't see you taking a deep breath. Take a deep breath in, out, and face reality. Standing in your way of growth and progress fails you in more ways than you can imagine. So why do I say reclaiming your time? Because time is lost. And it's about understanding that it's not just being self-aware, it's also about being intentional about where and how you live your life. One thing you need to understand as someone that is a coach, a public speaker, a social media manager, a content creator, as a human being that wants to improve themselves, there are buckets of time that you can steal that will help you to manage the resources you have properly and create time for what is important to you. Now, I'll give a little disclaimer. When I talk about efficiency, effectiveness, productivity, and I'm trying to work on your mindset on how you should see time, I am not looking for ways for you to manage time so you can pile it up with more. No piling up. You want to create time to be able to think. When last did you sit down with yourself and reflect and just think and just take pen to paper and write? Some of us intend to do it, but we don't. So we're reclaiming our time. So reclaiming your time, reclaiming your time, reclaiming your time, because time is yours. And it's about being proactive and not reactive. Most time when it comes to time management, most of us get all the tools. I'll recommend a tool, you will get it. I'll recommend a website that you should go to and download a worksheet, you get it. We get all these things, but if we are not proactive and we stop being reactive, nothing is going to change. So it's about a couple of things. When you're looking at your self-reflection and self-mastery, we're going to be looking at past data. Your data, not my data, your data, your behavior, your habits in relation to how you've managed time. How many deadlines have you missed in this month alone? Let's not even look at 2024. Let's look at 2020. No, let's look at 2023. Let's look at 2024. Today is what? 26th. 26 days into the year. How many deadlines have you missed? Be honest with yourself. You don't need to write it in the chat. This is a private time for you and your notebook. Think about the things that you failed to do and understand that reclaiming your time is a process. It starts with awareness. Awareness of your current time use. Now, I mentioned earlier that my team meets with me daily. And that's because we realize that as entrepreneurs, as social media managers, most of the time people work alone and they are lonely. So that was an awareness we had. We said that, okay, how are we using time? Most times you say, I will do it later, especially if you're a freelancer. Please tap your neighbor or type in the comments and say, freelancer doesn't mean that your time is free. Because when you're a freelancer, you believe that, I will do it later. But if you're not tracking your time daily with simple things as a pen and paper to say, this is what I did, this is what I did not do. If you're not tracking your actions, if you're not tracking your time, if you're not writing what you intend to do, you cannot reclaim your time because you don't see where time is being spent and time is being lost. So awareness of current time use is vital for you to reclaim your time. What are your priorities? For me, my priority may be to build my email list. For you, your priority may be to start earning 7 figures because you're earning 6 figures. You want to increase your capacity. You want to bring more people on board your team. So you have your priorities. Your priorities cannot be to earn more money or book more clients, and you are just scrolling and consuming social media. Because if we look at your priorities and we look at your actions, there should be a connection between both. You can't say you want to be and you're acting like the rest. I'll repeat that. You can't say you want to be the best and you're acting like the rest. Reclaiming your time is simple. Are you aligning what you do with your priorities? Do you pay attention to the things that you do? If you don't, what are you willing to do about that? And when it comes to reclaiming your time, it's about setting boundaries. Most of us are like this. Remember I said, we're not talking about others. So this is not just setting boundaries with others. This is setting boundaries with yourself. Now, a key way I set boundaries with myself, because I know once I get on WhatsApp, I get distracted, is I don't check my emails in the morning and I don't check WhatsApp in the morning immediately I wake up. Why? Because I will start working on other people's to-do list. Now, you have a list of the things you want to do. Then you start checking emails. All of a sudden, you're replying emails all day. You now look at your watch, it's 4 o'clock. Oh, I intended to do X, Y, Z, and I have not done it. That is something that happens to entrepreneurs because we don't have a structured life. We determine when we work and how we work. However, one thing I will say is this. As an entrepreneur, you should have a routine. Please, if you take anything from these sessions, this is what you need to take. You need to have a routine. You need to have a workflow. You need to have a system that protects you so that even if no one is holding you accountable, you're holding yourself accountable. Another way I set boundaries with myself is through my phone. I simply have do not disturb on my phone certain times of the day. So I've put some things on my calendar, like our virtual co-working session twice a day where we come together and get work done. Sometimes we come together to brainstorm about, what kind of content should we create? So setting boundaries is not just about setting boundaries with others. You're setting boundaries with yourself because you need boundaries, you need rules, you need regulations of how you should work. Don't think because you're an entrepreneur, you can now decide to just wake up at 3 p.m. and just not do anything. And you're wondering, my coach has told me so many things to do, but nothing is working. Next thing, you buy a new course, you buy a new book. You have 10,000 books. I know I have a lot of books behind me, but you're not reading them. and you're not applying them. So we book lovers accumulate books. But in the past, I used to accumulate courses. If I just see a course I like, I buy it. If I just see a book I like, I buy it. I had to realize that lack of planning and scheduling was impacting my life negatively. So it's not just about having all the tools. I need to know what I am doing for every hour of the day and ensure that it's in line with my goals. So most of us, the truth is this. Please write control in the chat. Our calendars control us. You need to control your calendar. I'll repeat, you need to control your calendar. Use a calendar book. Even if you want to do something, book an appointment with yourself and say, from this time to this time, I am doing X, Y, Z. The reason we do the virtual co-working sessions is because we need to book appointments with ourselves and meet that appointment. There is no if, why, buts, or maybes. You are doing what needs to be done. Then, one reason I say keep track, watch what you've done. There are some things that you're wasting time on. If you look truly at what you want to achieve and you're honest with yourself, are you focusing on your money makers? Most times when entrepreneurs tell me to do social media management for them, or they're like, oh, DK, recommend a social media manager. What I realize is this: you outsource every single thing about your business to somebody. You expect someone that doesn't have your years of experience to master your ideas, your skills, and everything, and create content the same way you would. You can't duplicate your brain and put it into them if you've not documented it. So one way to minimize time wasters is by documenting things. It's by building what I call a personal productivity system. It's by understanding that certain unproductive habits have to be reduced, not eliminated. Now, we all know about mindful living, so I won't talk too much about this, but be intentional about what you do. Surround yourself in companies or people that are on the same page or on similar journeys with you. So part of mindful living is that as humans, we need to engage with 3 categories of people. Those that have come before us that we can learn from, those that are our peers that we can have conversations with and engage with, and those that are coming after us so we can teach. And someone talked about, how do you build competence? That's how you build competence. Sometimes you build competence by teaching, by testing your materials with your friends. Before you go on stage, you prepare a stage with your friends and you present. I remember when I was growing up, when I said I wanted to study law, I didn't study law even if I'm wearing black and white. My dad decided that as an introvert, because I am an introverted introvert, he was going to invite other naval officers to the house, and I was going to present my arguments. Now, you roped all my siblings into it. Was I happy with that decision? No, I hated it. From the bottom of my heart, I hated it. Because I'm like, why am I trying to convince these men that know more than me? But I did not know at that point in time that I was creating a stage for me to be able to present my thoughts before I go out there. If you don't have a platform like that, create yours. One thing I love about my group of friends is this: we have a mastermind. We meet every Wednesday, and what we do is we table what we said we were going to do. We hold ourselves accountable. We have the hot seat where you get on the hot seat and then you are able to say, this is a course I want to create, and then we give you our honest reaction to that. You need that right company of people. So it's about being intentional about who you surround yourself. It's not just about reading and writing and reducing stress, but it's about increasing productivity by doing shared knowledge, learning from others, and then passing that information out to someone else so that nothing is stuck in you. Sometimes we think that when we share on certain platforms that we're losing ourselves. Oh, no one wants to know this. Oh, it's already there. Still share it. Or if I give everything out, why would they come to you? They will come to you because you're good. You can give all the ideas, but they would still come to you. So it doesn't stop there. You should have something I call regular reflections and adjustments. Now, the T is missing, but don't worry, I will explain. My regular reflections and this thing are different. So for me, I do mine 3 times a week. And you'll be wondering why. Because initially I used to do it just on Sundays. And when I do it on Sunday, I prepare for the week. I reflect and I plan on the same day. But sometimes we start the week wonderful and excited and motivated. Then life gets in the way. The things we said we wanted to do, we didn't do it. And then we forget we are human. But if you are able to sit down in the middle of the week to say, okay, what did I say I was going to do? So I do that on Wednesdays and I do it in my email list. What did I say I was going to do? Oh, I said I was going to write 5 emails. I was going to do this. I was going to do that. You are specific about what you said you were going to do. Maybe my to-do list was too long this week. Maybe I should reduce it. So you ask yourself questions and then you make adjustments. On Friday, like today, I'll sit down and have another reflection and say, okay, what did I say I was going to do on Monday? And based on my reflection on Wednesday, did I do it? Yes. If I did not do it, why? If I did it, why? What made it possible for me to work out the way I wanted to do it? Okay. Now, I then plan for Saturday and Sunday, and my Saturday and Sunday are now more specific. Then on Sunday, I reflect and plan for the whole week. Create your own routine. You don't need to copy mine. Although if you want to join our community, it's possible for you to get those 3 emails and 3 listening in the WhatsApp community. But it's about you understanding that adjustments have to be made. Remember I said something earlier? I said mastery is important. You need to have self-mastery. But apart from self-mastery, what do we want you to do? So I want you to do me a favor to show that you are awake. I want you to go to this website, slido.com, or scan this QR code, and we're going to do a little exercise. So you'll scan the code and then we will get started with this little exercise so we can see ourselves and how we are actually working. And there's one thing you need to realize. You're not alone in this. And that's what I want to show you. So can everyone see my screen? Oh, fantastic. Yes, someone is in here. Wow. Okay, so we're going to now share. Have you found that the pressure of a tight schedule makes you work more efficiently? Be honest. Yes or no? Have you found good? Sometimes good. Okay. So the pressure of a tight schedule, does it make you work more efficiently or does it distract you? So you can scan the QR code. Oh, we've got 3 responses now. You can scan the QR code or you can just go to slido.com and enter the word Reclaim 2024. I forgot to give that instruction. Sorry about that. Reclaim, mostly yes. Yes. Okay. I'm going to ask another question now. Oh, people are still typing. And I'll start the second question. Some of us work best under pressure. Some of us work best under pressure, as in we need that adrenaline rush to actually get anything done. However, some of us don't. Have you observed that when you do things like that, when you work under so much pressure, sometimes you have to go and do work, and this time be honest. So the pressure of a tight deadline makes you work more efficiently. You feel that, oh, you're able to complete the task. So you complete it and you submit. One thing I realized is this: the pressure of the task made me complete the task. So I'll be like, oh, and I will complete it. I will complete it. But then I have to go back and make changes. How do we ensure that as individuals that have limited time and limited capacity, we are able to actually maximize our time and get the results that we need? And that's because we have to master a couple of things. And I'll just mention them quickly. The first one is time mastery. I've talked about this a little bit, but take a screenshot of this page so you can do this by yourself. You have to do a time audit to say, what am I doing with my time for the whole 24 hours? Keep a time log and compare it with what you intended to do. Just find out what you did. Did you get the result? Fear and time management. Sometimes we need to understand that when we set goals, we should think about what will happen if we did not achieve it. So we always think about, oh, I'm setting this goal. Sometimes let's look at why we're afraid, why we're holding back. So that's where fear and time management comes in. Energy and focus. Now, this is a very, very important one. It's not about how long when you want to read or write or work on a project. It's about your ability to give everything to that task at that point in time. Every single thing. So you're not compromising your health. You're not compromising anything. You are able to give everything. So that's why sometimes it works out. But it's not a healthy way to work. So you are doing time mastery. You're also looking at your habits. Understand the way you work. Think about if you're spending time on the phone, digital TikToks, if you are working on the wrong projects, like I said earlier, some of us are not working on our money projects. We are working on the projects that don't bring us the money we want to earn. We've said we will, how many of you have said, I will create this course, I will write this book, I will do this thing, but when I have time. Now, you can have time if you are able to take charge of the habits that are preventing you from doing it, or understand what's holding you back. Then growth mastery. One thing I always say is this: do not outsource your personal growth to anybody. Take full charge of your personal growth. Because when we can have coaches, I coach people, so I'm an accountability coach. We can have coaches, the coaches can give you the tools and everything, but do not outsource it completely. Your actions have to match your intentions. You have to be honest with your coach, but you need to take responsibility. Your coach can't do the work for you. So if you don't have time, your coach is not going to sit down and help you create that time for you. So I said something that some of us don't just, we think about time management and it's something that we know, but do we know about time mismanagement? How many people know that time is being mismanaged? If you don't know something is being mismanaged, how do you claim it? How do you use it? How do you maximize it? So time mismanagement is something you have to pay attention to. And I'm just going to tell a story. There are some times that you're working on projects and then you have other things that you're meant to be doing. The reason I love using tools is when you have tools, there are certain things that you want to do by hand that you can automate. So rather than automating, you are doing every single thing. So you have a poor allocation of time. And that has happened to me in the past. My first course was amazing, the first course that I created, but I'm glad I created it because I was using Canva, but I was doing certain things by hand. Now, if someone is creating a course and they already have their IP, AI can help you do that in a shorter period, but you use it as a tool. The tool doesn't replace your creativity, but it helps you to manage your resources. So there's inefficient work habits. You're working, you are multitasking. This is my shortcut to multitasking. Multitask with your brain and at the same time. Don't do two things that are brain activities, and you determine what those activities are. So we believe in monotasking. So when it comes to doing anything, monotasking is focusing on only one task at a time. So women, we have this thing to say, I'm a woman, I can multitask. Multitask, multitask, multitask. But when there are certain things that you shouldn't multitask on. Because the truth is the world is competitive. If you want to be the best in your field, you have to act as the best in your field. So when it comes to your industry and you want to be a world leader, my question for you is this. If you live your life the way you're living your life now, would you become the world leader you want to be? Second question, the best in your industry, are they living life the way you're living it, based on your actions and your intentions? Are they dealing with overwhelm? Are they looking at ways to set boundaries, or have they taken intentional steps to get these things done? I've talked about time audits before, and I just said I'll give you something to take a screenshot of. This is what you need to know with time audits. Time audits is about looking at the past. So this is a task that anybody can do. Download the time log and keep a time log for 1 week. Then sit down with your time log and take pen and paper and write out the areas that you saw you were wasting your time. If you found out that you were scrolling on social media for hours, your phone has given you a way to track that. You see that, oh, you spent 50 hours this week on social media. Out of 168 hours, you are watching TikTok videos for 50. Then you know where your time is being wasted. It's also about understanding that some of your goals are unrealistic. Your expectation and the reality should match. It shouldn't be this thing. I think we'll skip this exercise and talk a little bit about this one. And I just want you to write in the chat. On a scale of 1 to 10, based on what you know now and what you've known, how confident are you in your ability to take intentional actions and master your time, habits, and productivity? I think I still have a few minutes. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident, I can be honest, so if you'd like, write it in your paper, but how confident are you? Let's go to the chat to see how confident people are. Whoa, 1. Okay, so 1, 1, 1. All right, so we're going to do something different than I anticipated, and that will be to ask you questions because I'm wondering why the scores are low. If anybody wants me to do a little bit of role playing, Coach Sam, just let me know how many minutes I have. I can do role playing with the first person to say I am in. I will be able to do role playing with them. Oh, I was on the wrong place. 6, 8, 5. My heart dropped and I saw 1, 1, 1. I can see 9, 5, 7, 5, 5, 6, 3, 7, 5. Okay. Someone says I am in. So Ruth, let's get to the bottom of this. Hi, Ruth. Let's have a little brainstorm.
Hi,
And
good evening.
you are bold. First of all, everyone, Ruth is very, very bold. All right. So I said on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in your ability to take intentional self-action and master your time, habits, and productivity? So when it comes to your productivity, describe how you will, I don't want you to score it, just tell me how you feel you're doing when it comes to you and the things that you said you want to do.
Okay, I think mostly some days I sort of achieve everything I said I'm going to do, and then the
Okay.
other days I'm like, today's not that day, let's just cheat. And so when I
Okay.
now start cheating, before you know, I just slide back into not achieving all my goals.
Okay, so what do you define as cheating?
Okay, like take for instance, when I want to exercise daily, I'm like, oh, today I'm too tired. Let's just leave it till tomorrow. And so I could now go on and like 2, 3 days I've not done it, then I'll now start trying to, pace again.
Okay, so fitness is one of the goals that you want to achieve. You want to get fit. It's one of the goals you want to achieve. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that will fall under one of the spheres of life. All right. Okay. And when it comes to work, how will you describe your actions and intention? Remember, intention is what you intend to do. Action is actually what you did.
Okay, so with work, most times when we are given a deadline, I'm like, oh, I'll try to finish before that deadline. But somehow, I think though it's as a result of not estimating what I can do well. Because most
Okay.
times I'm like, I'll finish on time, but before you know, I'm struggling to meet up some deadlines. Not all, but some.
Okay, so we have a choice. We can work on your fitness or we can work on work. Which one has a higher priority to you and why?
Work, actually.
Oh, fantastic. All right, good. So let's look at work a little bit. So you mentioned something, you said deadline. So do you work for yourself or do you work for an organization?
Both, but I would want to focus on working for the
Okay.
organization.
Oh, for the organization. So you have 168 hours a week. You spend some time in the organization and you spend time on yourself. So you want to focus on the organization. And if we look at the organization, tell me your work day, exactly how it works.
Okay, I work Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 5:30.
Okay. And you said deadlines, you miss your deadlines. Do you get, is it a fast-paced environment? So you work in accident and emergency where it's just pack, everything, you have to be on your feet all the time? Or do you think that by planning properly, you can actually achieve better goals?
It's not like sometimes actually deadlines are really realistic. It's just as a result of probably not planning well.
Okay. So how do you plan currently?
Okay, so when I'm given a task, I just, I start the task because I'm into research. So I start
fantastic.
gathering information and everything, but I do not really specify maybe today I'm going to finish this number of pages. I just work basically.
Okay. So do you work from home or do you work in office?
I work in the office.
Okay, fantastic. And do you work on a team or do you work alone?
I'm in a team.
Okay, so is your work dependent on someone else? Are you slow sometimes because the person that was meant to give you information has not given you?
No. Most times we all have a portion of the work that we do. So my work is, I'm working in a team, but then I have a portion of the work that I'm to do.
So it's not as if, because there are some teams that, until this person finishes their work, I cannot start. So that's not the case. Okay, so we understand a couple of things. You work Monday to Friday, you're given deadline, you work on research, and how do you, so let's do something. When I am doing content creation and I'm doing my calendar, we have two ways you can do it. I have I've broken it into different activities and how long it takes me to do each activity. So my research stage is different from my design stage, is different from my writing stage, is different from my editing, and it's different from my publishing. That's just an example. So if we look at your research, how do we break down the work? Because sometimes what you need to do is understand that this is a major project. So let's call it, this research is a project. That project is now broken down into tangible action steps. So you have to think about the specific task that is involved, the resources required, and your skill area or your proficiency in that area. So we're looking at three things: the project, resources required for that specific task, the task first, because you're working on more than one research project. So we're going to do them project by project. So project task, what is required to complete this task? So you know your deadline, you know this. What do I need to achieve this? I need to have my computer connected to the internet. I need access to libraries. I need physical books. You need to write it down. So I'm going to give you a couple of seconds in case you have questions for me before we move to the next stage. So you can then tell me all the steps that are required in your own task that you are not meeting the deadline.
Okay, so there is the aspect of getting information. Online.
Yes.
Good. Then there's the part where I have to read, of course, understand, and try to pick the information I need. I think I'll call that paraphrasing.
Okay, so curation, paraphrasing, good.
Then after that, there's a place of organizing my work. That's maybe if I have to do an introductory part, then come
so
up
your
with
outline,
points.
basically. Will you call that your outline? Good.
Yes.
What else?
Then there are other times I have to explain now. More like put together all the thoughts I have gathered, like arrange it to make sure everything is in order.
Assemble?
Assemble. Then I think that's more like the last thing. Oh yeah, there's a
You
part
edit?
of sorting references. Yes, that's what I meant by arranging actually.
Okay, so organizing is different from writing. So we're separating every single thing. We don't want to combine them together. So we're going to
there's
assemble. Good.
I think there's writing, then editing. Editing. Sometimes proofreading.
Proofreading, good.
Yes. So that's
Okay.
like the last thing.
All
Then
right.
submission.
Submission, good. And how long are you given to do this task?
It varies, just depends on the
Just give me
urgency
an
of the
example.
task.
It's just a rough estimate.
Sometimes like 5 days.
5 days. So you have 5 days. Are you given any other tasks between this time?
Yes, sometimes
Okay, good.
while I'm working on a task, before I'm done, there's something else like coming in. So like I have the new one, and then I still have what I had not finished before.
Okay, good. All right, we can work with that. So the first thing we do is write a list, which is what we just did. Don't put it in your head and assume you know everything. Write a list. So we have different types of lists. So what she has just created is part of a master list. Now your master list has everything, but then you have to think about how long does it take you to do every single task? And do you need to focus fully? Do you need to do this? And I will explain what I mean. So when it comes to the curation, maybe it takes her 30 minutes to curate or takes her 2 days to curate and gather all the information together. You need to state that there. You say, okay, curation takes this number of time. And by curation, I mean getting information online, reading, choosing the ones that you will work with and the ones that you will abandon. So you will have a system for doing that. How long does it take you to do that? You need to identify that. Then if I'm paraphrasing, now that I have everything, how do I now gather my resources and paraphrase? You have to be specific and give yourself a margin of error. Say, okay, if it takes you 30 minutes for now, you just say 1 hour. Later, you can adjust it. Organizing your work outline. Now that I have gotten my stuff, taking the paragraphs, I highlighted what I want to use, written my own thoughts. I now need to say structure. What is the outline for this article that I want to write? How long does it take you to structure it? You write it down. Assemble. That one we have edit, writing, proofreading. Every single task, you need to be intentional about writing it down. Now, a little caution. Do not write it for the person you wish you were. Write it for the person you are now. One mistake we make is we try to say, oh, I'm someone that is very fast. When you're not, admit the fact that curation takes you a longer time than any other person. You're not in competition with anybody. You are in competition with yourself. A standard has been set globally, and that's the standard you're trying to beat. When you're trying to beat the next person in your office, nothing gets done properly. You don't get the best work out of you. So first of all, rewrite your list. When you've written your list, you now say, okay, now that I have my list and I know how long it takes me to get something done, I need to realize that not all tasks have attention, a word that we've spoken about today. There are some tasks that require maximum attention. There are some tasks that require medium attention, and there are some tasks that require mini attention. So I call it maxi, midi, mini. Why maximum attention? With maximum attention tasks, which of your, you tell me the one that, when I describe it, you tell me which of your tasks falls under this route, because you're very brave. Maximum attention is something that you need to focus completely. You cannot be distracted. You cannot do it on something else. You cannot drive and write, for example. You can drive and talk, but you cannot drive and write. You cannot be thinking of writing an amazing paper and doing something else. So it's something that takes you 2 to 4 hours because it requires maximum attention. You can break it down into different segments of how you will do part A, part B, part C on your calendar, so you can break your attention. But this requires maximum attention. You need to concentrate. You need to bring your skills and experience and everything into play. Which of your tasks requires maximum attention?
I'll say paraphrasing, although a bit of curating too.
No, it can be more than one. If all of them require maximum attention, not a problem. It can be more than one, don't worry. We're just categorizing it.
Okay, so there's curating, paraphrasing, proofreading.
Proofreading.
And writing, actually.
Writing,
So
good. Good. So you have 14, so you know these things require maximum attention. Now, medium attention, which of them requires medium attention? So it can be take you like an hour or so 1 hour to 2 hours to get it done. You just know that I can do this and I can be on a call. I can do this and I can do something else. I need to concentrate, and it will take me a shorter period to accomplish this, but I can do this and maybe something else sometimes, but most times I have to do only these things. Medium attention. What task on your list requires medium attention?
I think editing.
Editing, fantastic. So you know that. Minimum attention. You don't need to, you can tweet and be laughing. You can be watching a show and tweeting at the same time. So it requires medium attention, not your full attention. Which of your tasks requires mini attention?
Outlining and maybe submission.
Outlining. Fantastic. Outlining and submission, because submission, you just click edit. You can have a template that you've written that you just copy and paste and say, please find attached this. You know that is mini attention. So my own rule is I divide my day into AM and PM. I do 1 maximum attention task on my list, so I don't have too many things on my list. 2 medium attention tasks and 3 mini attention tasks. 1, 2, 3. So I divide it into AM and PM. Some people I tell some people to divide it for the whole day. Some people I tell them to divide it like that, because there may be other things you're required to do in the office that will fall under minimum attention. So you can add them. Just realize that not every task requires the same attention. You need to understand that you need to give appropriate time to the task at hand. But it starts from not just time management, but task management. So what you're doing is you are defining the task in very clear terms. You're saying, okay, this one is a mini attention. I will do only 3 of these. If I have more time, I can do others. But these are my 3 priorities this week. How does that sound to you?
Thank you so much. I think this will really help me.
Okay. And then another thing you can do is have specific days for specific things when you have much because you have paraphrasing, organizing this. So you can say, okay, curating will take me 2 days. I will do 2 days. On Wednesday, I will not paraphrase. On Thursday, I will do this. On Friday, I will do this. So you are dividing the work. So some people do it like that, where they do specific tasks on specific days. Your brain is now being trained to do this, because what we're trying to do is unlearn certain things and relearn certain things. I hope this was useful for you.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it was.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
So there are some times that we intend to do things. I've just jumped through because I changed something when I noticed the numbers and I realized I was looking at the wrong part. There's a cost of inaction. When you don't take action, there is a cost. When you don't do what you're supposed to do, there is a cost. And who is bearing the cost? Sometimes you, your organization, and everybody that is around you. But when we take ownership for what we are supposed to do and what we're not supposed to do, we can now make changes. I always say this, there's nothing wrong with not taking action as at today, but there's something wrong if by tomorrow you are still not able to merge your intentions with your actions, because actions always beat intention. So how do you do this? And I'll end with in a few minutes. You have to have clarity of intention. Be very clear what you want to do. Manage your expectations. Manage your expectations. And sometimes we say, I know how to manage my expectations. No, you don't. Be real with yourself. Based on family obligations, all the obligations you have, what should I expect to accomplish this week? Manage it. It's also about accountability and commitment, and understanding that it's not just about saying you want to do, but you must do it. You have to take action. And sometimes we say, oh, we want to wait till the end of everything to celebrate our wins, but don't. Celebrate small wins. It's also about reflection and discipline. You need to have discipline. It's not just about disciplining your children or your subordinates and you're saying, oh, you must be this, you must be this, you must be this. But when you look at your own self, you know no one is holding you accountable. You make a commitment and you don't keep that commitment at all. So when I work with people in commitment circle, I'm like, you keep your commitment to your commitment. So based on all this, you can recover lost time by understanding why time is being lost, by building a personal productivity system, by understanding that it's not just about setting goals, but it's about taking actions. So there are a couple of actions I want you to take today, and one action is this. If you and I are having this conversation 1 year from now, I want you to write down, you can take a screenshot and write this later, who you are in an active way. So my name is DK and I earn $2 million a month. I am the efficiency boss. I achieve all the goals that I set. I've built a personal productivity system for 100 people. I pay my team very well. All of you should not shout yet, all my team members. I own a productivity suite for people. I drive a G-Wagon. So you are writing in active tense. If you and I are having this conversation now, 1 year from today, what would you want to have happened to you? So you write that. But one thing you have to understand is you can't make any change until you understand your procrastination pattern. So what I want you to do is another screenshot, another QR code, but this one, you can do it at your own pace. Scan this code and go and take a quiz that I have specially prepared for you. This quiz will make you understand that there are some people that are comfort zone procrastinators. Some people are overloaders. They just want to load themselves. Everybody procrastinates for one reason or the other. But what's your procrastination pattern? You need to find out. And I think I will keep this year up here and see if anybody else has any questions or anything that they want me to look at before I call it a day. Coach Sam, am I good with time?
Yes, we should be up in, you can round up. Let's go.
Okay. So screenshot of the other slide. Okay. So screenshot of this slide. I earn, I am, I achieve, I built, I pay, I own. And remind yourself about these active sentences. Don't just write them and forget about it. The power of reflection is important. What makes people strong and unique is the action that they take. Your intention and actions must match, but it starts with knowing yourself. If you take the quiz and you want to have a conversation with me, send an email to info@nogragra.com. And please, no grief for yourself, no grief for laziness, no grief for procrastination, no grief for yourself in any way. If you are getting in the way of your progress, do me a favor and get out of your own way and embrace the true potential that you have. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. DK.
Okay. Yes.
Fantastic. Somebody's asking if they can have a link to the procrastination quiz. It was a QR code that she put up,
okay,
right?
I will put the link in the chat. Oh, Gloria, help me put the link in the chat, please. Or Dante, one of you should help me put the link in the chat if you have it. But I'm just going to scan the QR code and then I'll put the link in the chat. But yes, it just helps you understand it. And if you take it and you want to have a conversation with me, send me an email, info@nogragra.com. It's quite memorable, so you won't forget it. But the code is in the chat now.
It sounds like info@nogree.
No green. Maybe I should go and buy no. Someone will have bought no green. Nigerian people, we know they carry last. Someone will have bought no green by now, but no gra. I grabbed that one a while back.
Oh my, fantastic.
Thank you so
Guys,
much.
Yes, that was a professorial presentation from DK. Very, very on point as usual. Thank you, DK, for that presentation. And
you're welcome.
It's a good thing that you're speaking in the January edition of our webinar, because usually in January organizations, put together goal setting sessions and all those stuff that happen at the beginning of the year. So this session is very timely because it's the start of the year and we're just rounding up January. So this is a good time to review what the first month has been like so that everyone can prepare for the rest of the year. So thank you once again, DK. That was very powerful. That was very powerful. I want to do a very quick activity with some people on the call. So if you are willing to join in this very quick activity, I need you to put your video on. If you're interested in joining this activity I want to do with some people, I want you to put your video on. I need just like maybe 5 people. Thank you, Xiaomi. If you can rename your device, it will help me, but I will call you by your device name, Xiaomi221 something, something, something. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Oluyemisi. Okay, I can see some people's videos are coming up. Thank you, Victoria Shomade. Good. So I am happy some videos are coming on. We're going to do something very quick. So I will mention an item, and you're going to find that item around you and bring it to the camera. You will find the item. I'll mention anything randomly. You will quickly run and find that item and bring it to the camera. You have to show me in the camera that you have the item. Whichever among you shows me all the items, or whoever shows the highest number of the items I will call maybe 5 items or something. Whoever shows me the highest number of items, I will send you 5,000 Naira cash gifts tonight. So, but just be careful, don't break your leg, I know day. Just be careful as you're running in your house. So, I'm going to mention the item. The first person who shows me the item is the person that I will count. First person that shows the item on camera is the first person I will count. So, if you are ready for me, if you are ready to start, type ready. Type ready. Type ready. Let's see. Again, Stella, you're gingered in this thing. What's the problem now? Okay. So, the first thing I want you to produce for me is a remote, a TV remote, any remote control, any remote control. Okay. The first person I saw was Ruth. 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 So Ruth has 10, Ruth and others. So that's the first. Let's go to the second item. The second item I want you to show me is a spoon. Show me a spoon. Okay, wow. Ruth, what's going on? Okay. No, wait, I don't understand. No. Ruth, what's going on here? Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so Ruth has the second item also. Wow, interesting. Okay, the third item I want you to produce for me, is a purse. A purse. A purse. Show me a purse. Show me a purse. Okay, Ruth, I need to see that different size. Nah, that's not a purse. I will go with Sonia on this one.
This is a purse,
Nah, I go with Sonia on this one. Ruth, that was Ojoro dear. That's a paper bag. In fact, Ruth, I'm supposed to penalize you for cheating. So far, I have Ruth with 2 items and Sonia with 1 item. There are 2 more items we're going to look for, and then we can call it a day. The fourth item I need you to produce for me. The fourth item I need you to produce for me is a tissue box. Tissue box. Okay, I see Sonia. Wow, interesting. Sonia is picking up.
I know, agree.
Wow. Don't be smarty. Sonia is picking up. Nice. So we have 2 items for Ruth and 2 items for Sonia. One last item to produce. The 5th item. So now is a contest between Sonia and Ruth. The 5th item, I need to say a very difficult one so that you people will have to do the work. The 5th item that I want you to produce for me, that should be a wig. Show me a wig. Okay, so my network froze for a moment, so I don't know who showed first. My network froze for a moment. Sorry.
Well, Ruth, sir.
Oh, was it Ruth? Oh, it was Ruth, eh? Okay.
It was Ruth, though.
Okay, so there's unanimous confirmation that it was Ruth because my network froze for a moment. Okay, so congratulations, Ruth. I want
Congratulations, Ruth.
I want you to send your account details to OBK and I will credit you after the call tonight. Congratulations on winning the first prize of Pan-African Webinar 2024. Beautiful. Nice, nice. Okay, so we jump right onto the next speaker for the night and the last speaker for tonight, actually. Before I bring her on, I want to tell everyone that these sessions continue tomorrow morning. We're running a full day tomorrow. We have a lineup of very vibrant speakers talking on different areas of conversations. Some of our speakers are based in the United States, in Lagos, in Abuja, in the UK. And so I'm encouraging you to join up. If you registered, you should have the details of the sessions already. If you didn't register, of course, OBK is going to post the link so that you can register now, so that you can get the details of the joining link tomorrow. And the sessions also continue on Sunday. Sunday evening, we also have some very robust speakers. This year, we no go gree, we no go gree for ourselves, we no go gree for mediocrity, we no go gree for backwardness. So guys, this is how we roll. Tonight, our last speaker for this night is a veteran speaker. She's cut her teeth when it comes to public speaking. In fact, she's built a niche around helping children become proficient public speakers. So she's someone who has hosted multiple TEDx sessions, for children. She's done great work. She runs an academy where people learn, especially children, learn public speaking. She's a versatile trainer too. In fact, she's an excellent communicator. And recently she was conferred with a honorary doctoral, award. And so she now earns the title doctor. And I'm honored to say when she was about to start her journey in this path, I was privileged to have met her around that time, and she has really evolved into a major force. So ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome with me Dr. Ikalon Udoh, who takes us on the last session tonight. Dr. Ikalon, welcome on the call. Okay. Why do I feel her network has thrown her out? So I want to think the network has thrown her out. Okay. So while we wait for her to come back, hopefully very soon, I want to take feedback from the first 2 sessions we've had so far. What stands out for you? You can share that with us in the chat room. Let's take some of your feedback. What stands out for you from the 2 sessions we've had so far? What are the things you're taking away from the 2 sessions so far tonight? Please, let's use the chat room. And it's okay to unmute yourself if you want. That will be okay too. Let's hear from you tonight. Yes, anyone? Hello, anyone wants to share what tonight has been for you so far? We'll be happy to hear from you.
Good evening, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Hi, Benga.
Yeah, for me tonight has been another mind and system opening session. It has
Fantastic.
opened me to the fact that if I can create systems that that are sort of automated around my life, I can achieve better than I'm currently achieving. We all have the same 24 hours, and I can make the most of my time if I change some things that I do on a daily basis. So that's just it for me.
Thank you so much, Benga. Thank you very much. I have Miriam in the chat room says reclaiming my time. That's absolutely correct. Dr. DTM Ikalon, are you back? I see you're back on the call.
I am.
Okay,
Yes, I
awesome.
am.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You have the floor now, boss.
Thank you so much. I'm so delighted to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. So today, I have had two amazing speakers speak before me. That is my colleague, Dr. Benjamin, and my sweet sister, DK Jonah, who I have had the privilege of being in her time structure. It's like a meditation time. I've been in her program and I had a wonderful time. So I'll be taking the last segment today and I'm very, very delighted to be here. Why am I excited? I am talking about children today. I'm talking about how to make our children successful. I actually chose this topic because I know that children are not really paid attention to. We just talk about our needs as adults, what we need to achieve, forgetting that these children would be the future adults of tomorrow. And if nobody takes that space to ensure that our children are safe, mentally, emotionally, we would have a crisis ahead of us. So I love my space. I want to start by sharing a story. I want to take us on a journey. I have been doing some research about why children don't do so well. And by doing so well, I'm not talking about academics. I'm talking about why parents bring their children to me when they are already in schools. I've had lots of children being brought to me concerning their self-esteem, their academics, they're not able to speak out, they're not able to interact with their peers, and it's going to get worse because of computer. But I had to go back to think, why did we become like this? Our children, those parents that have come to me, when I sit down with them, I realize that the children that they are complaining about took some traits from them. And the parents are not so perfect in terms of confidence, but they just know that this is not what they want their child to be or be like, or this is not who they want their child to be. So I had to go back to think, where did this syndrome come from? This timidity, shyness. We heard the first presenter talking about his looks, not feeling too comfortable with his looks. Then DK spoke about herself also being introvertedly an introvert. And I was a very timid child, but that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I want to take us on the journey about how to make our children successful. So we grew up at a time whereby it was a taboo for us to open our mouths and speak when our parents were speaking. If you grew up around the 1970s, the baby boomers age, you will know that it was not right for you to open your mouth when your parents were speaking. So we were cultured to always stay behind. When a visitor comes in, go inside the room. You're not supposed to be seen or heard, except you are called to present water to the guest. And then when I realized that, oh, it was a cultured thing. If you are cultured when you don't talk. But we went out and mingled with other people and realized that people who spoke out more seemed to be more intelligent. They actually did better. They got better placements in school. They got the head boy. They got rewarded, not because they were the most intelligent, but they were just the bravest. They were the boldest. They could answer questions. And we knew the answers, but something just kept us mute. I was like, I know the answer. I can even speak more than that person, but we just kept quiet. And I realized that it was culture, our environment. And our parents now realize that, oh, they didn't know that it was culture. They didn't know that they were the ones that tamed us or modeled us to be timid. They just felt that I have my daughter, she's well reserved. And that reservation, we took it out and we would not talk. Then when I came to this present age, we that are now adults, and realized that our children are missing it. And if we do not give them the opportunity, they will not be able to talk. So we started pushing them to good schools, to mingle with other very sociable people so that they can actually start speaking. And when they now got there, it was tough for them to fit in because it is not in their genes. Because sometimes, well, we inherit not timidity, the introverted nature, and the environment too can confine us, because sometimes our parents will say, keep quiet, don't talk there. When we want to speak, our parents shut us up. That is why we have seen a higher number of parents being now aware that being able to speak is a new currency, because sometimes you don't need to pay for anything. Your ability to just make a friend who is going where you are going, you have a free ride. Your ability to go to an office and just say, hello, I'm looking for a job. And if you are the most pleasant person, they say, we want you for our front desk officer. So communication is very, very key. And I believe I've been able to give us the foundation of why it seems that many of us grew up being introverted. But the future now is, what happens to our children? What happened during the various stages of development? And I'm trying to, let me get my slide up. Where is that coming? And the different things that happen to us. Just give me a moment. Let me try and get my slide where I packaged all of that. Okay. The different stages happen from 0 to 18 months. 0 to 18 months, when we realize that, let me stop. When we realize that what our parents did to us, the bond we had with our mom, the bond we had from childhood, 0 to 18, at that stage, how we provide a loving environment nurtures the way our child or our children grow up to be confident. Then after the 0 to 18, we now have 18 to 3 years. At that stage, children want to explore. They want to explore the world, and they take very, very risky steps. They can jump, touch the fire. If we do not assure them that, okay, it's okay to take risk, however, we should control it. We should guide them as they're taking those risks. If we come out shouting at them too much, that is when the child will withdraw and will not be able to use his own initiative, will still fear as the way the world is. Then we now have the preschool age, between 3 to 5. When they go over to school, when they are off to school, we as parents are no longer the only ones who are controlling how they perceive the world, how they build their self-esteem to achieve greatness. Schools have a major role to play at that age, 3 to 5, then 5 to 13. These are various developmental stages of a child's life. But I'm very sure that many of us have not paid attention to what is happening at various stages of a child's life. So what does success mean? Nobody can actually say what success means. There are different definitions. You as a parent determines what success means. First of all, to yourself. When your child is still with you between the ages of 0 to 18, you determine what success means to your child. When a child reaches 18, the child now makes his own decision. But I'm talking about making us aware that at every stage of our children's lives, we are supposed to pay attention to the gaps according to their developmental stages. So success to me is every child's ability to be able to maximize the skills and potential it's supposed to maximize at a particular age. And if we do not know what a child is supposed to, the milestones our children are supposed to get to at a particular age, we will miss out in helping those children achieve greatness according to their age, because it's our responsibility, it's not the child's responsibility. It's our responsibility as parents to be able to know and also look out for the gaps that they lack and help them. And I want to say that our schools have a missing puzzle. There are some things that you cannot find in schools, and you need to have an extra curriculum. You need to pay attention to the things that are not in schools so that you can ensure that your children have it. If we are not careful as parents, we would realize that our children will just come out to be like us, because definitely we know that the genes from us are transferred to our children. But the children that I have seen succeeding are the children who, despite their weaknesses, their parents are able to identify their challenges early enough to seek help and to get them to achieve those gaps. So who is talking to you right now? Ikalor is a very passionate children's coach. I'm very passionate about children because I realized that the problem I had started when I was a child. And as a child, I could not speak. I used to stutter. I used to speak very badly. And someone in my house told me that I spoke as if I had hot yam in my mouth. And that really affected me. And I grew up into secondary school and realized that I used to read a lot and I used to stay on my own a lot. And during my junior WAEC, after my junior WAEC exams, my mom saw my results and she was not happy. And she said something to me that changed my life forever. I still remember it very clearly today. She said, Ikalor, at the rate you are going, you will not go far in life because you do not have any friend. And when she said that to me, it wasn't an attack, it was feedback. And it hurt me so badly because I did not know how to make friends. And I saw my secondary school mates having so many friends, but I just felt it was too much trouble to have a friend. I just felt it was too time consuming. It would drain my energy, but I used to admire them. But I did not know how to make friends. But I proposed in my heart that, okay, I'll try to socialize. I'll try to talk more. But it was very, very difficult. It was very difficult because there was no time my teachers from primary school, nursery, primary, up to that time, ever identified that that was a challenge for me. They never saw it as a necessary skill to succeed in life. All they were concerned about was your mathematics, your English, social studies, all the various subjects. But they forgot, or it did not occur to them that there's a particular skill you need to have that makes learning easier, that makes studying less stressful. So when my mom said that to me, I had to explain to my mom that, Mommy, I read very hard. And she asked me, how were you reading? And I had to think that I'll go to a quiet place in school, stay on my own, and read. But I realized that when the exams came, I would write. Maybe extra sheets. Sometimes I would ask for extra sheets. But the results would come out, I would get an average score. It was later when I was working with children, and I realized that whenever I teach, I tend to understand what I am teaching better. Whenever I speak, I tend to understand better. It now occurred to me that could there be more children who are struggling to actually perform well in school because a teacher has not understood their learning style? Could there be a child out there who has been condemned or criticized or put off that the child is not sharp? Meanwhile, maybe that particular learning environment is not where the child needs to be in. I once watched a particular TEDx whereby a man was talking about the different types of creativities that are schools killing our children's creativity. And this particular speaker talked about having a child, a parent went to see, a mother complained to a therapist that the child does not sit still. And the doctor now said, okay, can we just leave the child and let's go out? And when the doctor was leaving, he decided to put on the music. But while he left, he decided to look through the glass. Because he had a glass, a see-through spot on the door. And he noticed that this child that it saw that was not active in school got up and was dancing. This child was dancing, to the music that was playing. And the man called the mother of this girl and said, could it be that your child is not supposed to be in the regular school? Could it be that your child is supposed to be in another school where maybe dancing or music would be the lectures that they'll be teaching, the lessons that the child will be learning? And that is exactly my place on earth. That is exactly what I am called to do. To actually pay attention to children who parents think they are struggling. But I understand that there's something unique about this child, that maybe the schools have missed it. Maybe the schools have not understood that you can't put all children in the same box per se, or in the same class. Because I also had a child. I have a child, still my baby, who was criticized like that girl in that TEDx speech. Okay, my son, most times, is always being sent out of class. He's always told, the particular doctor actually said he had ADHD, even though my husband said, God forbid. But I actually thought there was something wrong with my child. He was my last. Okay, sorry, he is my last. And I struggled with putting him in school because teachers will always send him to the naughty corner, always punish him. And I was like, why is other ones are doing so well? They are all so calm, quiet. My son quite timid. But I was like, I have overcome my own timidity. I realized that my daughter too took some traits from me. My son too. So these things are inherited. So when you talk about your child, you might want to pay extra attention. Do you struggle? Did you ever struggle with speaking out as a child? There's a higher probability, if you do not expose your children on time, that your children too might also struggle with speaking out. But what should you do is early intervention, your ability to expose them early enough to a safe environment, to someone who understands children, who has worked with children, who knows how to bring their voices out. So let me not lose my trail of thoughts. Let me go back to my son's story. So my son was in this school, and in that particular school, I volunteered in the school. So I saw the teacher teaching, and I happened to be in the class. So my son would just generally distract his teacher, hold something, always restless. And it was time for them to have a go to go and plant a seed. So I followed them as an assistant teacher. And I noticed that this teacher did not give my son a seed to plant. She was cross that my son maybe was distracting and, being the big boy, it was huge. It was bigger than his peers. And I looked at my son watching other children, not having a go, because a teacher did not understand how the boy used to learn. And that really hurt me as a mom, because he paid the fees, but he was deprived from learning. Then we went back to class and I felt so bad. I wanted to remove my son from that school. So I was looking for schools and I was always carrying the reports of my son to every school. Can you handle a child with this kind of issue? He does not sit still. He's distracting everybody. So I took him to a particular school. And when I went there, I made sure I had a one-on-one long discussion with the head of school. I said, please help me save my son. I don't know what to do. So the head teacher said, don't worry, I'll give him to the oldest teacher in the school. She was like, she's a grandma. And I wanted to meet with her. I still explained that my son does not sit still and I want him to learn. So my son went to that class. It was the first term in a new school and his result came. First term result came. And my son came first. My son came first in a new school that he did not know anybody. That was a turning point for me. I was shocked. I went to meet this woman. I asked her, what did you do to bring out the genius in my child? And Mrs. Mary said, she said, she did not do anything much. She just realized, listen to what she said, she just realized that my son does not like to sit for a long time. So when she has finished teaching, and it's very fast, so when she has finished teaching, she will send him off to go and play, and he will go out and play. And when it's time for the next class, she'll call him back, and he'll come really excited, and he will learn. That woman was the one that redefined the way I saw my son. Yes. Second term, he came first again. I was so grateful to God that I had found someone who could explain how my son is. I never knew that he was a temperament. It was just, he's a kinesthetic child. I never understood it because his senior ones were quiet and he is just everywhere. When we used to do lesson in my house, my son would be the only one that would go out of the window and do funny faces. And I was wondering, why would this boy just learn? But when that woman explained to me what she was doing to my child, I was like, God, I thank you that I did not crush him. So I now took my son's profile, new profile that I now understood, to all his teachers. Every single class, I must introduce my son to his new teachers. Some understood, some never got it. Because after that lady, 2 classes after that, a particular teacher beat my son and injured him. I don't want to go into that detail. In the same school, another teacher sent my son out of the class, punished him to kneel down, and forgot him outside the class. It took a student to giggle when she saw my son peep, because he's a very playful child. He was peeping, and my teacher was saying, why are you laughing? And he said, oh, Exit book is still outside. And my son came to me, I picked him up. He said, Mommy, my teacher forgot me outside. throughout the lesson, his class teacher. That day I wept. And I held myself not to call immediately. So I went very early to school to see the teacher. With heavy eyes, I had to ask her, what amount of gravity of offense would my son have committed that you would punish him? And leave him outside throughout the whole lessons. She looked at my son when I was confronting her. And she said she's very sorry. It was actually disturbing. And she actually told him to kneel down outside, kneeling down at the age of, was it 9? I think it was 9 or 8. So I went to meet the head teacher in the school, and I reported this teacher to him. Guess what the head teacher told me? The head teacher told me that, but she's one of their best teachers in the school. Because of that, I made sure that my son left that school at the age of 9. I made sure, because I made sure that I prepared him for common entrance, got teachers so that he could just leave the primary. Since they don't understand, just leave the primary. And I realized that not many people pay attention to the needs of children. But we forget that the adults of today were once children. Somebody needs to understand our children. Somebody needs to nurture their self-esteem. Somebody needs to rub them like the genie, to rub the kettle, because every child has greatness in them. Every child. And now it is not enough talking about the success of a child. Please pardon me, please permit me. It is not enough for you to outsource your responsibility as a parent to any teacher. I once had a teacher who I employed, paid my own money to come and teach my children. I wasn't at home. And when I came back, my house help rushed to meet me in the car and said, "Mommy, come. They are looking for my son, my first son, who is very introverted, by the way." So I understand it, and I'm working with them. I'm playing towards their strength, so that by working with them on things that they are good at, I build their self-esteem, I expose them in that way. I understand all of them. So knowing your children is very important. So my son ran away from home, I think he was 8, my first son, because he could not answer a question. And the lesson teacher in the house, in my house, beat my son so badly that he went to jump into the well, that they were looking for my son. He ran to my neighbor's house. So that is why I'm saying that who is responsible for our children's success? We are. We need to pay attention to the struggles of our children. You cannot say that you have paid school fees and you leave them and the teacher tells you your child cannot talk. Because I've worked with so many children. I've worked with so many children. Parents have brought their children to me, and their teachers are the ones eroding their children's self-esteem, self-confidence, speaking to them in terrible ways, telling a child that I know that you will not pass. Because I sit and I listen. That's the first thing I do with all my students. I listen. And most times, it is the caregivers, it is their teachers, it is their peers who are not well trained on how to be empathetic, how to know how to keep quiet if you don't understand what is happening in a child. So I call my message today is, if you see something that is not in line with what you understand, get someone who is passionate about children. Not all schools have the capacity or the time. Some of them have been there for years, and it's their old style of teaching that they use to teach children. And I am very passionate about working with schools to help those children who struggle with low self-confidence, even parents who know that this child seems to be struggling even with the academics, because sometimes it is the behavior of the teachers that affects their performance. But let me tell you what happened concerning that my son right now, who is in SS1. I told you before that I work with their teachers. I carry his profile and I reintroduce it to all his teachers. So he talks. I make sure that they talk, but he's the one that talks a lot. So my son told me that in SS1, his computer teacher, listen to the trend, has sent him out of class 3 times. That the first time, that is a secondary school, not a university. And I asked him, what did you do? He said, there's a girl that had his pen and he wanted to call her and he said, I just said, who made that sound? And he looked. I said, get out of my class. And I told my son, how dare you call a girl? Don't you know her name? That's not nice. You should have called her. He said anyway, that he went out of the class and stayed by the window so he can listen to the class. Then the teacher saw him and the teacher said they should shut the window. That one crushed me. Shut the window, and he went somewhere behind. There was a small space. And I said to myself, where did they get all these teachers from? But that's what I did. I took the information, and when he went back to school, I got somebody to give me the teacher's number, and I called the teacher, and I introduced myself to her, and I mentioned what my son did. I said, I'm very sorry for my son's misbehavior in your class. She said, oh, I have forgotten. Oh, I forgot. I said, yes. If you can remember, ma'am, most times teachers don't remember what they do to children, but children never forget. I said, but this is my son. I want him to enjoy computer science, and I want you to please embrace him. There's a kinesthetic child. He doesn't really sit still, but you just need to embrace him. So please, next time, just kindly ensure he does not miss class. And before he entered SS1, I don't know if I still have more time. Okay, yes, I do have good time. His teacher told me that he's restless because I always say you should do acting or things like that. So what did I do? And I had a conversation with myself. I'm telling you this so that you can now start finding out the things that might be challenging for a child. You need to have the conversations. I'm going to be rounding up. It is during the conversations that you will know where your children are struggling, because at every phase of their lives, they are facing challenges. So just take every phase as every new class. That will break it down for you. So every new class comes with its own challenges. It is very important that you get into the class system, not by entering the class, but by having the conversations with your child. And pay attention to the things that your child says, so you can intervene at the right time. You cannot outsource that time. You need to be present in your child's life. Because when he told me that, Mommy, I don't want to go to an art class because all my friends are going to science and they will think that I am, they will think that I am dull. So I told my son, no, you are going to go to an art class. You're going to be dancing, singing. And I realized that he had wrong kind of friends around him. So I worked with somebody in the school to change him from that environment and engage him in the choir. Because during the holiday, I made sure he went to go and learn something that we get his hands busy, play the keyboard, play the drum. So success is our ability as parents to know the gaps that our children have and look for the solutions for them timely. If it is in communication, if it is in low self-esteem, if it's academics, why is it that we can get all the lesson teachers to help them with their mathematics, with English, but we don't get the teachers to help them with confidence? Not knowing that the ability to even make friends, to interact would be an edge. Back to my own childhood. Because I used to stay alone, I used to read alone, I used to feel alone. It's when I grew up, I realized that by speaking, I get to understand. If I am with people here and I just share what I want to talk about, it is at that time I am actually understanding what I planned to say. So I now realize that children are very unique. And I tell parents that come to me that we're going to work on identifying your child's learning style, identifying how your child receives the world, the communication style, because if you can connect to that communication style, you can get that child's attention. You know? So I'm rounding up right now. There's a lot of work to be done. And I think I'm going to be talking more about this during my TEDx presentation. I have a TEDx presentation at a school on Tuesday. There's a lot that needs to be done in our schools. Our schools have some missing bits of the puzzle. And if you think that it's because of the school fees that you have paid, that will sort it out. I've gone to schools that they pay so highly, but those children cannot speak. Those children cannot put their thoughts together. I step in there and I see the gaps. And the gaps I see are a reflection of the teachers I meet. The gaps I see expose to me the challenges with their teachers. And I really want to talk to the teachers that they have. There's a lot they can do. Apart from mathematics, English, there's a lot they can do to fit those gaps, because these children are the leaders of tomorrow. These children are going to be our presidents. They are going to be the ones being the fathers, being the mothers. These are our children. So thank you, Coach Sam. I think I am done, even though my slide did not show up. But it's okay.
Your presentation was way more than any slide can do. It is so personal and quite moving. I'm sure if you check through the chat room, you relate with how, as you were speaking, CIK, my daughter's teacher comes to mind. I was just chatting Mrs. O and about that. My daughter's teacher comes to mind, how at a point I had to tell him that, see, you're competing with this girl as though she's your rival. She's a child. Because my second daughter is very confident, very bold, and I feel that he's trying to break her because he feels she's... So I can relate it how you feel. And I dare say that many parents whose children are in schools are really going through a lot, because we just want these teachers to help us raise these children, but it looks like we're fighting a battle, trying to get them to parent these children with us. They are seeing it as some contest. So I personally can relate with everything you have said. And your message is very deep. Fortunately, this message is on YouTube. We have many school owners on this call, and I know many parents can also relate. And I want to take this opportunity to appeal to everyone to please make this message very clear. Teachers have a lot of work to do. Teachers have a lot of work to do. Teachers need to understand that these children are just children. They have personality challenges. They have spectrum they are going through. And I feel that if teachers are open-minded to develop themselves too, they can see how they can help us as we're trying to raise these children. So, Dr. Ikalon, honestly, your talk is unprecedented because we didn't see it coming that way, and it's very, very straight to the heart. Thank you very much for sharing it the way you shared it. And I can tell you, everybody is like I'm seeing the comments, even via WhatsApp. Some people have been messaging me like, wow, like it just cut through the heart, honestly. So thank you so much for sharing from the depths. And it is really, really fantastic. Somebody says, no wonder she's a DTM. Yeah, we can say that too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm seeing another comment here says, this is deep. Now I'm scared to say I was teaching before now. I completely understand all you've shared. There are teachers who really pay this much attention. Yes, some do. Thank you so much. So I do not know if anybody has a question for CIK, but I'm sure that her talk was quite, yes, Ada, you may speak.
Good evening, Coach Sam.
Hi.
Good evening, Mr. Kalon. Oh my God, this was amazing. It was amazing. I just want to say thank you for what you do because you actually spoke my heart. There's something I always tell myself because I'm a parent with 3 under 7 years. So I can totally relate to what you're saying. I always tell myself, and I also want other parents to know that going to school or putting your child to school does not outsource your role as a parent. It's one role that can never be outsourced. No matter how overwhelmed you are, you must be the parent. So for you to have said this, it means it's something that we all should know and own. You know, that thing you say you take your child to school, you want to introduce your child to the teacher. It's something I do, and I just do it because I also want to be intentional of how they are raised and what they do with the teachers. And I didn't know it was something I was doing right. And then some people are like, this parent, your own is too much. That kind of, your own is too much. You're the only one that has a child.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And you just feel like, why is this is just something you just do not to, you're not hounding anybody, but you just want them to be aware. So I'm glad you're doing this. And I want to say, keep up the good work because we need to hear this. We need to hear this. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Beautiful. Thank you, Ada, for that feedback. Any other comments, feedback, questions?
Yes, please.
Awesome. Please, let's go.
Thank you, Dr. Udo. I appreciate you. Unfortunately, I can't reverse time. I had personal experience. I have an adult son that went through exactly what the son went through. Unfortunately, I didn't have this knowledge. I didn't have this understanding. I would have done things differently. I tried my best the way I knew how to do it. Even when you talked, I was somewhere I took my son to for something, and the lady just looked at me and said, who are you to this? This is my son. And she was asking me, are you sure? Are you sure? You are looking like this and your son is like this? Because the boy did not get to talk, early. He started talking at 3. And for one reason or the other, they couldn't just get what was wrong or what was not in place. And we went to all hospitals, they couldn't see anything. But people didn't know even the steps to take care of a child. They didn't know. And I tried all what I knew. I read all what I could read, but there was no answer. But answers are now coming out. Now this gentleman likes to be on his own. He goes to work and comes in, but he likes to be on his own, on his computer, no friends, doesn't relate, and he's an adult. So in such an instance, you look back and you feel pain. Yes, you feel pain. And my son went to the best school around me, and then that they were thinking, you know, then, but they couldn't even help him. They couldn't understand him. That was the fact. They couldn't understand him. And I don't know what can one do to an adult child, 38-year-old man. You know, what can you do?
Wow.
I mean, I want to thank you for bringing up this, but you can see the pain mothers go through. As you were tearing up, it was touching me, and I was, you know, was replaying my situation, and I was looking at it now. He even said that was the day he said, "Mommy doesn't like me, I know." Just because I wanted him to, do you understand? You know? And that's not the fact. I just wanted the best. I was working a very good place, working the mom looked at me and said, I was on a bank and I was not a junior officer. But she thought that it was my fault for the child not, instead of her to do what she's supposed to do. I got a speech therapist. I did they checked her tongue that was like his tongue, no, not tight tongue. I got a speech therapist for him. But you know, those that are supposed to be supportive to him, they didn't even know what to do. So it hasn't got anything to do with class or school the child went to. He went to the best school in my environment then. That school was #1 school. I just said, let me share it. I don't know if somebody can tell me what to do. I will do it.
I would like to give you an advice. I would like to give it's I don't want to say it's unfortunate that my slide did not open. That's Erik Erikson. Coach Sam has read my book. Well, by the way, I have like 5 books. Okay. I have one I recommend for everybody here. The first chapter, Why You Parent the Way You Do. It's Parenting Patterns. The book is a soft copy, 265 pages. You can use a PDF to read the book. That book will expose to you your role, what you do to influence your child. The essence I came out today was to tell parents that every part of a child's maturation growth, from 0 to death, there is something that if you don't pay attention, it's going to affect your child. If you do not pay attention, 0 to 18, 18 to 3, 3 to 5. I did the research for that thing. I wanted to know about children because I saw a family, I am in a family whereby because parents did not understand their children, we lost precious jewels in the family. And I wanted parents to know that they are called patterns. The title of my book is Parenting Pattern. It's on Seller. The books are there. The book is 10,000. The book is full research work. If you can get that book, chapter 1 alone will help you to understand different parts of a child's development stage. That if you miss it, it's going to cost you something. So you're supposed to open your eyes. Then another book I have is called Raising Confident Children. Raising Confident Children. You will see the roles that teachers play to crush children, to make them timid. So I have 2 books I'm recommending to you, but I would like you to get Parenting Patterns. Then people that still want to, parenting pattern is a must for everybody. It's talking to adults. Patterns whereby somebody is alive and people around don't know that the person has a mother. That was my story. My sister and my mom were not so close because of lack of knowledge. So my book is to open our eyes so we don't make the same mistakes, we don't lose precious people. It was when my sister passed that I realized that her temperament was valid. My parents kept beating her, stay inside, not that she was a sanguine. And she went out and they lost a precious jewel until when she died. I started learning. I said, wow, I wish my parents knew, they would have crushed her. My mom went to everybody in the neighborhood. If my daughter comes to your house, beat her. If, you know, that kind of a thing. So parents do things out of ignorance, crushing a child. And you say the child is not close to you. So nobody from today should go with lack of knowledge. You need to get information. It's your fault if you do not know. So right now, I teach my older children to love their younger brother because they don't still understand why he's everywhere. And I'm telling my daughter that he's like your baby. You must love him. She said, no. So I'm teaching her because now I understand. If I did not understand, I'll behave like my daughter to my son. But now I know that all he needs is love. I understand. I do. So please get knowledge. Get Parenting Patterns. It's a powerful book. Coach Sam reviewed the book. MM has reviewed my 2 books. Even Coach Sam gave the foreword for my 2 books. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll share the link so you can get it.
Awesome. I just posted your website on the chat room. Ladies and gentlemen, you should get the book. It is, I'm privileged to have forwarded the book, and Ikalon did great research in that book. It was properly written, very, very detailed, and I strongly endorse the book. So Ikalon has shared today from a very deep place, and she has not just done theoretical work. This is her website I'm sharing on the screen so we can all see it. And this is the book she's talking about, Raising Confident Children. You can join the waiting list and you can get the book. I strongly recommend this book because I have seen the work she's done with it. When I was introducing her, I told you she's done a lot of work with children, and she has explained and shown us how much research she has done, coming from a personal experience with raising her son. And I want to let you know, I'm not sure you can find a deeper, better context than how Ikalon has presented this. Personal experience, community experience, and then research. So if you read this book, you're not reading some copy and paste kind of content. So ladies and gentlemen, I think you should check out this website, and I think you should place an order for the book, especially as a parent. One of the chats I'm having on WhatsApp with a friend is how parents, and like Ruth even said earlier, we parents must step up to helping our children, understanding our children better, helping their teachers understand them, especially teachers who are willing to understand them, and protecting your children from teachers who are not willing to understand them. Because just like Ikalon made that move of pulling her son out of that school, I know how many of us are making that decision as we speak. Because when the teachers are not trying to understand where your child is coming from, you are responsible as a parent to protect your child from further damage. Because like Ikalon said, this is the future of your family, this is the future of the society and the country. So if you really want to believe that you are bequeathing the world with a better child who becomes an adult, and we all leave a legacy that we choose to raise. So Ikalon, once again, thank you so very much for your vulnerability tonight. Thank you very much for your gracious presentation tonight. We didn't see this coming, and it is just mind-blowing. It's a very good place to close today's event. Thank you so very much. To all our speakers who have spoken tonight, we can't thank you enough. We started off with Dr. Benjamin Wayo, who was very particular about helping us know how to be compelling. He said talk is cheap, but attention is expensive. And he got our attention, talked to us. The 3 speakers tonight spoke from a personal place. If you noticed, Ben talked about how he was seen until his mom told him he was a fine boy. And he said, if my mother says I'm a fine boy, I'm a fine boy. You know, and then DK came and spoke about her condition and her health and her issues and how she's able to be productive within the framework of that. That was very powerful. And then Ekalon just came and, you know, scattered the table and brought us to a moment of emotions and, you know, brought us to our knees. This is the stuff OSP members are made of. OSP did not make them, to be clear, but OSP is privileged to have them. OSP did not make these speakers. They were made. OSP is just happy to promote them and happy to have them to share with the world. If you have been challenged, if you have been inspired, whatever has happened to you tonight, join us tomorrow. We start at 8 a.m. and we run for a few hours. I promise you, every speaker comes with a different game. Don't underestimate anyone. So we'll meet again tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining tonight. And on behalf of the OSP community, we say have a beautiful sleep. We'll join tomorrow. If you have not registered, please register. I would say you should send a WhatsApp message to this number just so that you can get the link tomorrow. If you're not in the group of people who have registered, that's a faster way to get it. Because tomorrow you need to invite your friends and invite your loved ones, and you don't want to miss this. Tonight's session was live streamed on YouTube. So if you missed any part of tonight's session, please go on YouTube and watch it from the beginning. Go on YouTube and watch it from the beginning so that you can enjoy the full pack of everything that was done tonight. I'm trying to trace the YouTube link so I can repost it for you to save it, because you need to have it and keep rewatching it. So tomorrow we reconvene at 8 a.m. and continue from there so that we can bring you more packages. Okay, I can't find the YouTube link, unfortunately. It seems to have gone so far deep. I'll leave it at that way. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful evening and see you tomorrow morning. God bless you. Bye for now.